Good late evening, fellow Bitcoiners. I have Chef Zroe here. He is a fascinating personality with a wide range of knowledge, but always remaining curious and willing to learn. So, as a member of the Bitcoin Army, I enjoyed listening to his ideas on the X spaces, and I listening to him talk about a whole number of topics. I knew he'd have a lot of ideas to share here on my podcast. He is an inspired innovator and an inventor, his current projects being things in the realm of neuromath, neolexi beta, which he will talk about, and also some Bitcoin Art Magazine Institute ideas. Generally speaking, he is seeking to extend and enhance the neuroplasticity, mental flexibility of emotic neuronic pathways and to foster new connections. So, one of the pathways we're going to connect on today is discussing his curiosity of the world and discussing Chef Zroe's menu for the evening. So, Chef, welcome to the podcast. What's on the menu tonight?
Oh, we have menu. We have joy and goodness and love. That's what's on the menu. We're going to explain it in words in different ways. I have to say first that I'm very enthusiastic about your intro of me. That was a good brief summary that helped people focus on my intention of being here. Wonderful thing I find about the Bitcoin community around the world is the ability and attention to receiving new code, new things that work for society, new solutions that are put into action that give us new outcomes that we didn't previously have. And don't we really all need them in this time and space? Because we're seeing that the fiat empire, the empire of lies, is falling apart around us. It was all an illusion anyway from the very beginning. Why did we ever believe any of it was real?
We were born into it like the Matrix. It's the air we live and breathe. So,
Yeah.
piercing through that veil can be kind of hard because we kind of
Mm-hmm.
take the path of least resistance and do what we're
Mm-hmm.
told and what our parents knew. So
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to break free. And also, I think you can break free when you find yourself in a rut and you're like, why is it so all of this? And you feel kind of like stuck, or you want to get unstuck. And I think
Mm-hmm.
COVID woke people up. I think other things are like even now are like waking
Mm-hmm.
people up. And so I think people are breaking through that, going, no, no, we're looking for something positive, forward looking, pro human,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just not getting enough of it from maybe established channels. So,
Yeah, and pro planet. I can tell, Fritz, you're a very awake and aware person, the way that you responded to that.
oh, thank
And
you.
I agree with what you were saying, which leads me even further to say about the Bitcoin community and the new code.
Mm,
So we were talking a little bit earlier, just briefly, about the world we're going to inhabit. We have to co-create. I was saying with you that change takes courage, and Bitcoin
hmm
is change. And change
hmm
means you have to become unsorted for a minute. You have to become in a sort of a chaotic space to put it together. And this is the same process that I use with invention. Now, you said it very good. Neo Lexa Beta, it means the new lexicon of the symbols. The word is a combination of three words: neo, which is new; lexicon, lexi, which is the lexicon, a definition of things; and abeta, which is the Greek word for alphabet. So it's a new lexicon of symbols of the alphabet. It's using words and letters, I call them my family, that we can come up with these new changing codes and solutions. Now, I'm going to give everyone the model for Neolix Zabetta. Now, this is my model for today. You can make your own relationship as you already have with the numbers and letters. And I'm going to prove to you that they're alive. I'm talking about the numbers and letters. They're actually living entities with character and energy and intention, depending upon how we tune them. So I'll give you the model now. Just watch my fingers. Now remember, this is a quiz. So
Okay.
ready? One is done. Two can do. Look, it's a vector where we're standing now. Three can be. Look, four is more. It's a butterfly flying away. How do you spell this number? Fritz?
FIVE.
Really? I spell it PHIVE because it's ALIVE. Five is alive. Look, six, nine, cousins, sisters, uncles, aunts, full of tricks. Seven, lines of love flowing from heaven, through us, in us, of us, with us, before us, forever to use for the healing of mankind. Look, cognitive cooperation, OCHA, 8 is great. So here's the quiz part, Fritz. In our family numbers, who is 0 to you?
Who is 0 to
Yes,
me?
who is 0 to you?
Would it
I'll
be
tell you who it,
myself?
well, it could be. I'll tell you who it is for me today. 0 is my hero because it's the only symbol that can exist and not exist at the very same time. And that gives it a power beyond belief. You see, now we're dealing with cosmic code. How can something exist and not exist? We use it every day and we don't even know how to define it. Let me tell you a certainty, and I can prove this to you. If 0 disappeared from our lexicon tonight, there would be chaos by morning that you couldn't even comprehend. Why? Because our whole numerical system of reasoning is based on this principle of existing and not existing. Then give it a dimension of at the same time, and your mind, it's like a cone. It's like, what is the sound of one hand clapping?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay.
You know,
So it
it's
opens
kind
up.
of, it can be
Mhm.
hard for the human mind to imagine pure nothingness. Like, meditation, we try to meditate and clear the mind, but something more than 0 keeps wanting to come. And so
Yes.
it's hard to let that go and really have 0.
That's such a great thought. It's like
I don't,
nature abhors a vacuum, but in
right?
this case, nature loves a dualistic reality that can be presented to us every day that we can apply to our look. Physics and engineering is all built around these.
So
So
you're connecting things like, so characters and symbols, mnemonics, numerology, like, so you were talking a little bit about sort of maybe like a universal language, perhaps, where we
okay.
speak different languages, but there are core themes to languages that maybe we can connect with about like your symbols there.
Right, exactly. So we'll go one level deeper now. If you'd like to see some of the formulas and the definitions of what I'm speaking about, you can check me out on X at Chef Zero. It's spelled ZROE, not the other way. So Chef ZROE. So okay, so you
Here we
made a
are
good
right
point
there.
there.
You
Yeah,
can
there I am.
find
That's
Chef
honey.
Zero right
That's
there.
me. Those are honeycombs, and that's speaking the word of love. So speaking love. Um,
Chef ZROE, Chef Zero. There you go.
ZROE. I call that sweet words. So let's go a level now a little bit more useful. So I was asking you earlier when we first started speaking, what is the language of thought? When people speak, when they have different languages, do they all think in the same language or do they think in their language? And I told you that I asked my Chinese girlfriend masseuse the question the other day, and she laughed. She said, "Language has no thought. I mean, thought has no language." She said, and I thought, "How can that be? We understand it. Are we thinking it consciously, and then putting it into the words that we can form that we do understand?" Because now we're going on to the subject of consciousness. I like your consciousness, Fritz, because you're one of those people who likes to ask questions and look around the next corner. It's courageous, is what I'm saying. You have a personality and character of being an explorer, courage.
Yeah.
And so that's a good thing. We can get to the next level, which is the neuromath. So the neolexibeta is, think of it as a generator, like a cosmic generator that puts out formulas that are called neuromath, NUROMATH, just
I
like it
had to
sounds.
search for it. You posted some things about neuromath.
Now, if you can find one of my headers, the highlighted part that talks about why are words alive? What makes words alive? You can find it on my top of my in my highlighted section, I think.
Let's
So I'm
see.
proving, yeah, can you read that for me?
Um,
So it would be my highlighted statement under my original my page there.
oh,
Yeah, here we
well,
go. Let's see, where is
how
it?
are words, letters, and numbers alive?
There you
Is
go.
this it?
Yes, that's it.
So letters combined in a sound with your breath of life is spirit. Spirit is eternal energy, thus the wind of life in a word.
Okay, contemplate that for a minute. So the words we're saying are filled with light. In other words, light is sound, sound is light. They're both the same thing, but in a different form.
Mm.
And so I propose to you. This is a lot to process, but you'll process it. Everyone in the audience too, subconsciously, as you go down through thinking about this conversation and some of the points I raised.
Fair
I'm
warning.
proposing.
I'm just going to do my best to keep up. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
you go
brother.
and
Oh well,
I'll
you're recording this, right?
we're
So it can
going.
always be it can always be reviewed.
I can
There's,
review it later.
yeah, there's a lot of dense code here.
Okay.
So I'm proposing to you a whole new understanding that sound is light, light is sound. Let's just say, think about that and come into agreement with it. And we're on the edge of discovering or exploring what consciousness is. So take those two ideas and then think about light is conscious.
Okay.
Light has consciousness. How do I know? Because the numbers and letters are living because we're giving them the force of energy through the breath of life. Also, the intention moves the whole universe. Also, the intention of our hearts through the words, as the intention and the word are matched up to be one thing, we get what we call pure contact, pure communication, pure understanding,
Hmm.
knowledge and understanding and wisdom. And so back to neuromath, because this is the good part. So I pondered for many a time. I just want to go back and reflect what gave me the stimulus in 2010 to realize that Bitcoin was our best future is because my
Hmm.
whole life, back when I was studying synergenics with Buckminster Fuller, while he was still alive,
You were studying with Buckminster Fuller?
yeah, well, studying under him and paying very close attention to him and his work, Synergenics 1 and 2, and Dymaxion and Critical Path and all of the things he was writing. So he was sort of a mentor to many, to me, to myself, and so was his writings.
Yeah.
I realized many things, but one of the additional things was realizing that, of course, money had to go digital because there's not enough gold and silver and paper in the whole universe to thread the needle's eye of the economy through. Anything that's going to be a living, true economy has to be based on the organic reality in which we inhabit and all the components thereof that make our ecosystem work, because the real treasure is breathing.
Hmm.
The real treasure is drinking. Cheers.
Yeah. Stay hydrated as we go here.
Yeah, the
I
real
do.
treasure is eating, is having communication with other people. Those are the real treasures. Well, we commodify them and put them into other things that we trade for like-minded energy, like Bitcoin, money, gold, silver, whatever we're using, art, things. So
Hmm.
back to neuromath. And then you could please give me some questions. So I
Sure.
want neuromath. This came to me just tonight, actually. I said, so what is neuromath actually? I've developed about 2 dozen formulas so far. They're on my X feed there. You can look through them over the time of the last, I think, 6 or 8 months. Because this whole invention came about in the first month of 2025. So I've been working on it for just over a year. Neo-Lex beta, I've been researching for quite some time, about 20 years. And it's been feeding me code that's helped me make my inventions. People often ask me, what have you invented? I say, which of the hundreds do you want me to start with? Let's take 1985. How about the lighted keyboard at Apple? Let's take 2019. Let's talk about the FlexEgg system that you see in every city in the world. That's the Wi-Fi scooter bike configuration,
All right.
the last mile connection. So it spans that whole time. I've been doing this my whole life for 40 years. And what I realized, what I really love about and can identify with the Bitcoin community is that spirit of courage. Because, see, when I invent something, the first thing people do, even people that I thought were smart, go, oh, yeah, how are you going to do that? You could never do that. That's impossible. Oh, yeah, well, I've proved them wrong tens and tens of times. But that's not my intention or my initiative. My initiative is to form something great that I can gift to humanity philanthropically. My dad was the co-creator of Educational Development Laboratories, which you would now know as McGraw-Hill Corporation, the
Okay.
publishing empire that
Right.
created basically the public education system in America and in many places in the world. They pioneered video, film strips, sound and sense machines, reading comprehension machines, you name it.
I remember that from school. Yeah.
There you go. So
Hmm.
that's my kind of my legacy. And so I
Wow.
hope I'm doing my father proud, who was a mathematician with the neuromath. I think part of his genius is in it, because some people ask me, so why are you doing neuromath? Why are you co-inventing? I always say, they ask me, why are you creating this? I say, I'm not a creator, I'm a co-creator. The universe and I, we work, she, it, him, we work together to comprise new innovative solutions to help people live higher quality lives. Back
Nice.
to neuromath. So I'll finish in 2 minutes, and then you can ask me some of your great questions. So you got the Neolexibeta, which is generating the formulas that I've been using over 40 years to create numerous inventions. And I want to codify it in the neuromath so I can. Okay, back to psychometry. Now, we were talking about Foundation, the series on Apple last year, and I was talking about psychometry, the philosophical genetic mathematics that's developed
Hmm.
that can chart the DNA mutations and genealogy of humankind into the future.
Yeah. So in Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, they get into psychokinesis, or what is it?
Psychokinesis, that's
Uh-huh.
correct. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was called psychometry, but it
Oh,
could be psycho.
psychometry. Maybe that's
I
what it
think it
is.
was psychometry.
Psychometry. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a different science.
Hmm. Well, a new science. It hasn't even been invented yet. So I don't, I'm not saying what neuromath is like that. I'm just saying I'm drawing a model to say I want it to be a useful science to increase the emotive to reload the software of the heart in human beings so they can become emotive in terms of having empathy for each other, and we can get to a place of peace. I haven't talked with you about this, but maybe you heard it on the broadcast about my love peace mission.
A
The
little bit.
love,
Yeah.
a little bit. So this
Hmm.
is where this is all going with the neuromath and causing people and hopefully nations after their leaders, like we're seeing some models of in El Salvador, in terms of lawfulness becoming more important than lawlessness, in terms of
Mm.
a social value and something they're pursuing there
Hmm.
as a model for other nations, larger nations, to follow. Now, it's the same sort of model with neuromath, is that if we can stimulate the emotive qualities in people, cause them to be more empathetic with each other, cause them to be able to communicate with each other, we can get at some point a new architecture, which I call the Strategic Tactical Arms Reduction Treaty between nations to limit the nuclear weapons manufacture, and then over time decrease the arsenals down to a level, hopefully down to a level of zero. Now, that's pretty idealistic, but at least we can reduce the factor of danger multiple exponential times by speaking with each other, by putting in the soil of peace so that people can have dialogue. And so my proposal is with Love Peace is to form a International Institute of Diplomatic Peace, or Institute of Diplomatic Process, or whatever you want to name it, to form those mediators out of the new thinking Bitcoin generations to become actual mediators. Tell you a quick science fiction story. I read a lot of science fiction. Frederick Pohl put out a science fiction book called "A Mote in the Eye of God," and basically,
Mm.
do you ever read
I've
that?
heard of that book. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and the basic gist is they found we discovered this other civilization that's grown up, but the problem is they fell into a cycle of endless wars and they never became an interstellar civilization, and they doomed themselves to basically extinction over a long period of time because they just kept falling into have cycles of wars where they kept murdering each other off for unknown reasons or philosophies or ideologies or religion.
Is it Larry Niven, The Mote in God's Eye?
Oh, Larry Niven, sorry, got it. Larry Niven,
Yeah.
not Frederick
Yeah, and
Paul.
he's written a lot of great books, but
Yeah,
yes,
he
I haven't
has.
read this
Larry
one. But
Niven, that's right. Now I see
yeah,
it.
okay.
Thanks for the correction. Yes.
I just I had to look it up because I
Oh,
wanted to
please
know.
do. Yeah, Larry. Oh, Frederick Paul was the one that wrote Gateway. Larry Niven. Yeah, that's right. So, extending that to the output of neuromath, that idea is that's the ultimate goal here is to give us some breathing room to become an interstellar civilization. In order to achieve that, we have to stop destroying ourselves. We have to stop putting so much money and energy into developing weapons of destruction and not living. I mean, I'm probably preaching to the choir in terms of our audience here. We all want peace.
Perhaps, yes.
Yes, I think we 98 or 99% of us want world peace, but we want also this. People don't give this a lot of thought. You see, I have a close relationship with children in terms of being an inspiration for me to invent because they're very direct and honest. So when I ask them about some of the threats that face them in this day, and I have this on video, some of these 12, 13, 14-year-olds are talking about, well, what about all the bombs they're developing that could vaporize our family tomorrow and our dog just goes up in a puff of smoke and we have no say? And I started to realize there was an undercurrent of trauma running through the youth, that they've been
Mm,
traumatized the same way we have been, as you were talking about. We were
right.
born into it. We were born into the fiat fiasco, mayhem, matrix, chaos from
Right.
the womb, and now they're also being exposed to the same type of psychological trauma of having, the duck and cover generation now weaponized in their psyche. And I
Mm.
started to realize something needs to be done about this. We need to address this as a civilization.
Yeah, they talk about like the COVID generation where there's a kids of a certain age that experience that in school, and there's like this existential threat they don't understand, but people are wearing masks, and it's kind of like the rules keep changing. Talk about damage to the psyche.
It's harm. It's real harm. It's like
Yeah.
being threatened. It's like those all those networks that are being exposed now in the social media environment, and all has to do with perversion and all that crazy stuff. Well, it's like inducing that on young, innocent, and even us as children of the universe, that psychomatic trauma of, well, is everything I'm working for, everything I hold dear, everyone I love going to be, by some other decision, eliminated before me, and I have no say in the process, even though I'm told I do.
Mm.
So, one of the things I wanted to connect with you tonight on, Fritz, was this really moving thought that I had tonight about inhabiting the future that we're co-creating as
Hmm.
Bitcoiners.
Hmm.
I've been inspired by many groups, and I've noticed this, that I've made friends in many different networks, like the Bitcoin Army, Bitcoin artists down there in El Salvador, the movers and shakers, the builders, the political arm. I mean, this whole thing with the golf, there was 400 movers and shakers there from Bitcoin, and I met quite a few of them,
Were you
have
at the
connected.
golf tournament thing?
Yeah, I was there for 2 or 3 days in
Okay, I
that.
was there too. I must have seen you. I just didn't know where
I,
you were. I was
I'm
there.
sure I've seen your face
Yeah.
there. I just
Okay.
can't place it where it was, but yes, we probably were like two spaceships,
Yeah, we were
going.
orbiting that world there for a couple of days. So
Brandon Martin has
yeah.
a live stream of me that I went on a rant for like 30 minutes.
All right.
And I had, at the end of it, I looked up and there was a whole gaggle of people just kind of cheering me on, just sitting around me all of a sudden. So see if you can find that on X,
Okay.
Brandon Martin.
Yeah.
But take a look at it when you get a chance.
Uh-huh.
I'll send you the link. I'll probably have to find it and send you the link. I'll write
Cool.
that down.
I'll look for it.
Link. I'll send you the link because I think I have it. Link for the, yeah. So the international, I call it the golf extravaganza,
Yeah.
was quite interesting, and it highlighted for me. I don't know. Have you been to El Salvador, Fritz?
That was my first time was that golf tournament. And
Oh, okay.
for about a week I was down there. And that was
Hmm.
a thing when I was down there. Like you start out with the words. And I had an interviewer just asking people questions, and she said, "One word, summarize your whole experience here in El Salvador in one word." I'm like,
Yeah.
"One word," and I had to stop and think about it. And I said, "Well, if we're going to speak Spanish here, I'll say amor."
Yeah,
Love,
there you
love.
go.
That's what it
LM3,
was.
baby.
Because you can feel it.
You can feel it.
What I was feeling, yeah, okay, I'm on vacation. There's cool people. I'm adventuring and
Yeah,
seeing the beach and the mountains, all this stuff.
yeah.
I mean, what is all of that in one word? It was
It's the
just
more.
it was love. Yeah. So.
I'll give you, that's why LM3, just for the audience, LM3 is my primary foundational neuromath formula. It means love is our minimum mandatory maximum. Now just think about that for a minute. LM3 equals love is our minimum mandatory maximum. In every situation and every interaction, we're to give love as a minimum respect level with whoever we are communicating with. So it sets the foundation again for emotive understanding.
Hmm.
I
And it
find
creates
it,
a universal relationship. Like,
yeah,
if nothing else, I mean, they say love is the answer. God is love. Love is that key in one way. If nothing else, if you had to summarize it to one thing, love creates just that universal relationship with us,
yeah,
ourselves, each
yeah,
other, the
yeah.
planet, the animals, everything. So there you
So
go.
I'm I'm gonna tell you, yeah, that's so true. I'm gonna tell you a quick 2 minute story that you'll appreciate and your audience will love. So while I'm inventing my happy invention back there in the 80s and the 90s, I started to realize that the powers that be or the military were kind of copying some of the things that I was doing and they were weaponizing them for military purposes. And I said to myself, I'm not down with that. So now I have to develop a whole new system of inventing that allows that not to, the reverse engineering not to occur. So I developed something called love technologies. Wouldn't you know it? Love technologies.
Hmm.
And ever since I've always coded all of my, like this necklace has love light on it, but I have love peace, love truth, uh, love goodness, love righteousness. So everything that you really want to exemplify as an intention, you put the word love, and it that vibration, like you were saying, it envelops the whole formula. I realize, everybody, that when you're speaking words, you may not realize this, but you're speaking formulas. You're speaking actual mathematic, but it's coded in the language of music. The human
Hmm.
voice is a musical instrument, so it's coding these, and you're getting an emotive response from the receivers, from the ones that are consuming, using up your code to stimulate further conversation. So we're
Hmm.
already using neuromath, is what I'm saying.
I
We're already
see.
spitting formulas all day long.
Mm. Yeah, without thinking about it. And you're also talking about engaging the emotions in it. Like, it's not just the words themselves, it's the feeling, it's the breath, it's the spirit of what you're doing there.
It is all of those three. It's the spirit, the breath, and the intention all together. So now I'm going to give you, I'll give you, I'm going to give you the inventor's golden code. Okay. You ready for this
Okay.
one? Here we go. You're being gifted. You're being blessed with some new code.
Oh,
So
thank you.
whenever I'm inventing the universe, she, it, he says to me, yo, hold on. This is how I get in tune with. Now this comes through different symbols, cosmic symbols like the stars and the sun, the creatures, the earth, the plants, all of the above together, and there's many others. All of that stimulus as I go through the day is guiding me to make certain decisions. So in the root of invention, there's 5 steps, wouldn't you know it? So, because 5 is alive. First, you get a cue. You go, hey, Fritz, over here. Look. Then you get a cue. Yo, look closer. Then you get a code software. You know how it's put together. You know what its input and its output is supposed to be. Then you get a really special gift. If your intention is correct, you get a key. Now you control the code, you control the device, the invention, whatever you're doing. You can take it apart, put it together, let it live, kill it, whatever you wish. You're the master. But of course, there's a 5th step in that, what I call is the Neo Lex Beta of invention, to go through in order for the invention to manifest itself physically in dimension that you can use. And of course, that 5th step, that door, is intention.
Mm.
The 5 steps, the 4 steps are useless without this, the intention. That's the ball that moves the score, because as your intention becomes aligned with remember, what the universe is doing through you, we're not doing to it. The universe is living through us. We're interacting with, it's interacting with us, and us with her, with him, with it,
Right.
with,
Like
yeah.
I heard an interesting. Jeeves is a guy I know who was on my podcast. Very
Mm-hmm.
smart, nice, enlightened man,
Mm-hmm.
and he reminded me of a quote from Rumi where it's like, we are not a drop in the ocean. The ocean is in our drop.
Yeah, that's right.
It made me think of
Exactly.
that.
That's
We
exactly
might just
right.
be a drop, but it's not that we're a drop in the ocean. We are the ocean in our drop. So
Yeah, it's like it's both at once.
right,
It's
right.
it's always that way. It's a trinary. There's a new word for everyone, trinary. Things aren't really binary, they're actually trinary. And that you can reveal that in quantum mechanics when you have a state that, well, zero is a perfect example of that quantum quality. It exists and not exist at the very same time. So wait a minute, it's communicating information to the code, but it's not at the very same time.
Hmm.
See, logically, it doesn't. You start to go, how can that be? And then the mysteries start to open up. It can be as we see with our intention. So the 5 steps. The intention is, what I noticed is that my inventions started to grow in their weight and effect in terms of the population. Like Flex Egg is a perfect example. I didn't even imagine when I invented it that it was going to be in every city in the world. I thought I was just going to put it in Menlo Park, San Francisco, we'll just do a little small thing. And then I realized, oh my gosh, no, it's global. Of course.
These are the short distance scooters.
Right. The mesh networks that put all that together, and the scooters. I started out with Flex Egg. The flex,
Oh,
the segways, the
okay,
segways.
right.
That's what I designed it for. But I quickly realized that. Then remember, those things like electric bikes and scooters were just coming about then,
Hmm.
and so that got integrated immediately into the mesh network architecture. But it's
Okay.
like inventing, you plant a seed, and then it grows, and you have to leave it to grow. It's not like you can once you plant that seed. So that 5-step seed has to be planted correctly. You know what I'm saying? So that it doesn't. That was
So
the thing I learned in the reverse engineering with the love technologies is, yeah, how do I make it so it's not reverse engineered to an output that I do not support or do not want to invent? That's a tricky thing.
right, like things you might imagine that are good, like free energy or whatever, and then the first thing that a military wants to do is weaponize it, or
Okay, listen, I'll give you a perfect example. You'll love this. And believe it or not, this is absolute truth. So in 1986, I came up with the code, and you're gonna identify with this was what's going on in current events. Diversity is our strength.
uh
Uh-oh.
huh.
Problem is, I didn't get the other half of the code until just about 2 years ago. So it took me 30 years or so to get the other half of the code. But unfortunately, I released the first half before I had the second half.
Okay.
And you know what the second half was, Fritz?
Hmm.
Diversity is our strength, that exemplifies and illustrates God's genius of creation, of the creation of the universe. You know how I know? You know how I know that? I just have to look at the latest photographic plates coming in from James Webb.
Oh, what did you
Mind
see in
blowing,
there?
mind blowing. Trillions of galaxies,
Oh,
trillions,
okay, okay. So
trillions.
yes, I wasn't sure if you're referring to something specifically. I was just telling a coworker today, a couple of coworkers. We were talking. We were discussing. Well, so okay, longer story than I thought, but starts with Epstein. Goes to the fact of any additional distraction we can have. Where okay, Obama said something about alien stuff, and Trump says he shouldn't have done that, and we're going to release alien stuff, and people are just like, how crazy are we getting here? Like what's going on? Like this craziness. And so we started discussing, because I had a coworker who would be like, it's quiet out there. We would have seen it by now. We can only travel at the speed of light. Well, even if they're out there, we'll never talk to each other, yada, yada, yada.
Mm.
Like the Drake equation, the Fermi paradox, even if there's millions and billions of potential life planets, we're too isolated. We'll never talk to each other. It's a dark forest out there. And so that's the Fermi paradox, I think, is what it
Yeah,
is where it's
yeah.
just like,
We should talk about that for a little bit because that brings up some philosophical things that are just. So let's talk about the Fermi paradox. You brought it up, and I'm glad you did. I hadn't even thought of that. That's sort of what I see too when I look out into the. Remember, I asked Grok or Surrey or some one of the AIs, how many how many um how many stars are there? She said he
more than
said
there
it
are
said
grains of sand on all the beaches of the entire planet.
it said trillions of billions.
It's
Billions
it's
of, no billions of trillions or whatever.
it's larger than that. So I
Yeah,
that's what I
right.
told that's what I told my coworker was there are literally by a factor of 18 or something, like many
Right.
factors, there are more stars in the visible universe. That's not to count dark matter and dark energy. In the
That's right.
visible universe, there
That's
are
right.
more stars than there are literally grains of sand on all the beaches of the entire planet. Huge.
Of all the planets you could find.
Of all, probably all the planets we know of. Add up all the grains of sand of all the planets we know of.
Right.
That's about the number of stars, and that's simply what we can see.
Let's
So,
talk about astronomy for a little while. So I keep a close eye on the astronomical goings on in the observatories that are being built. And the newest one, which is being built now, won't be finished till 2030. It's there in Chile, is the EP something M. I can't even remember what it's for, but basically the bottom line is it has such computing focus and clarity, and it can look for planets. Basically, we're searching for planets now. It has that definition of digital quality to it that we can differentiate the spectrography of planets from other habitable planets that have the correct mix of atmosphere. So we're
right.
getting down to that point. So back to the Fermi paradox. So I was looking at these, which I do every weekend to try to kind of rejuvenate, checking out the newest images from these different astronomical assemblies in Chile and Hawaii. And what strikes me is that it is a very odd paradox that if it's billions of trillions and it's unlimited and endless, I mean, given the mathematical probability, we be already know of like, I don't know, 200 or 300 races we've been interacting with.
Do we not?
Yeah, well, that
there,
we don't know.
we can get into that too. But anyway, so I have a coworker whose opinion is we've never seen anything. It's all bullshit. It's all quiet out there. We're apparently alone. We're too far away. And I don't know if you've heard some of the disclosure stuff and evidences there that's kind of curious. So anyway,
I was looking at earlier, just before we came on, at a new archaeological dig in Baalbek, there in Lebanon, and they did a LiDAR underground survey of that Jupiter temple, and they
mm,
found out that it has a foundation that goes down quite deep. And when you took a look at um, the cybercopter picture of it, and as the announcer was announcing that these huge blocks that they move that are even beyond our ability today to move, and to do it in those days without apparent engineering of any kind or tools of any kind, it just you don't have a logical understanding. But the announcer was suggesting that these were actually landing pads for huge craft, and that we're
huh.
talking, yeah, exactly. We're talking hundreds, maybe tens, perhaps hundreds of millions of years ago in the earliest evolution of this planet. It perhaps was inhabited by and it was a trans, like a Grand Central Station for uh, a couple of races, and they had landing pads that were built. And how else you start to think of how did they move these 160,000-ton blocks?
Right.
The biggest
Yeah.
cranes can only move about 100,000, and those there's only one of them in the world, and even that
Yeah.
is difficult.
We
So you
couldn't do
try
it
to,
today. I
and the
mean,
quarrying and everything. So I look at a lot of the ancient Earth output. The different. I like explorers and discoverers. Looking at the ancient architecture that we are surrounded with and inundated and embedded upon the surface of the earth over all of the nations, it does appear to me that it's pretty apparent that there was a highly technical, very advanced civilization of some type, whether it was extraterrestrial or terrestrial. We don't know because it's so long ago, and those records have been long lost by whatever processes and covered up by the institutions that don't want us to know, which we can certify. And today that's being done very apparently. It's an active masking and hiding of the truth, because there's just too much evidence I've seen throughout all the years of my life to lead me to any other conclusion other than that's what actually has occurred. I can't be
yeah.
specific about it, but right.
It makes me think of like Graham Hancock and his Lost Civilizations work and other things. The
Yeah.
Younger Dryas stuff. There were floods, sure, and all that. We imagine that like humanity and history and what really started
Mm.
was, you know, other than like the Bronze Age, okay, really cooked off around 12, 15,000 years ago. And that's where it starts. But there has been life on Earth for millions of years, hundreds of millions of years, in complicated fashions. I mean, some mammals, but certainly reptilian. And maybe the depth of history of what we think of as being sentient is not just the most recent glimmer of humanity. You know what I mean? So,
That's
anyway,
exactly know what you mean, because about a month and a half ago, I started, and I've done this throughout my life, getting very interested in cephalopods, cuttlefish, whales, and dolphins, and starting to study the newest research that's been done on the way they communicate and the way they order their social structure and what their culture is made out of. And what I found out is we already have terrestrial aliens among us. They're alien in that we could never mimic, like let's take whales for instance. It's been shown that the songs that they hold are actually a cultural memory, a collective memory of the history of the pod and its relationship to the ocean and relationship to other pods. They can signal thousands of miles apart with low waves. They could, until the ships started to disturb them, the ship waves and the
yeah,
engine
yeah,
noise. It set them off, and of course it's eliminated the huge populations that used to be. But the important part of this is dolphins also have a sonological, not a chronological understanding of time. What would be a sonological understanding of time? See, now we're getting back to the discussion about consciousness. What defines consciousness?
hmm.
Is a whale conscious?
Yeah.
Is
I
it
would
is it is a dolphin conscious?
say you might say what is consciousness? Consciousness could be, like you said, light, or I mean, it's the fabric of everything. It just takes different forms.
Um, yeah, I was going to say, is the turtle conscious? Sure. I mean, I don't know, but I'm
Yeah.
just putting that question out there. A
Right.
lot of inventing has to do with just formulating questions. Like Albert Einstein said, he's not looking for the answers, he's looking for the right questions. The
Right. Right. Right.
universe will answer us. So, as you know, Fritz, the universe honors the intention of our heart. You get what you co create, whether with words, actions, or all the combined things that you were doing. So intention is very important in this process. And I don't know, you must have some good questions by about now, because I've spit a lot of code.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts in my mind. So on one level, um, you mentioned whales, and I had told a podcast I had a while ago with an artist, Anik Malcolm. He's an artist working on the theory of everything, and
No.
Big Cube. He's been painting for a while now.
Mhm.
Anyway, he was talking about chronochrome and the nature of brains and the amygdala and how different animals use biochemistry, things to migrate and perceive the world. It made me remember something about the whale brain where so we have an amygdala in our brain. This is like the size of maybe a large pea or a grape. And we use it to sort of integrate the two hemispheres and visualize the world, kind of like the mind's eye, and map out space and time. Like, what is the world? And so in the human, it's like the size of a grape. In a whale, it's the size of a grapefruit. So you imagine the processing capacity we have using our amygdala to have a mind's eye about visual and spatial things.
Yep.
A whale, well, there you go. Yeah. So diagram of the brain.
Yep.
So imagine having an amygdala the size of a grapefruit. What can you do with that? Or how do you see the world? Your world is the entire ocean?
Yes, exactly.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so that helps me a lot in my medical. Yeah, so also the processing capability of now you were talking about neuroplasticity before. Remember we were talking about it, and you defined it very well. The neuronic growth, the growth of the connections in the brain, the plasticity, the flexibility of being able to learn new things. Again, we're circling back to the Bitcoin culture. What I really liked about El Salvador and that whole experience was it reminds me of what it's like to live as an inventor. You're always on that edge, like doing new things that people either they think that was my alarm for the podcast going off. They think
reminder during the podcast.
Crazy, or they think it can't be done, or they think that they never heard of such a thing. I mean, there's a lot of reactions, but they all basically add up to the same answer, which is they're not aligned with my intention. See, I am one in co-creating with the universal, the flow that I'm in, the Neo-Lex Veta. That's the code that I've co-developed over a lifetime because I have a gift for invention. I love to create I love to tinker. I love electronics. I love to create new things, as all humans do. We all have that innate love of co-creation, of creation, of developing something, of building something, of loving something, of making something. I think that's why we're still a species in existence, I think, to a great degree.
Yeah.
So good point. So what were you talking about now, Fritz?
So last night on some spaces, and it's
did we mute?
No.
Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Hold on. We got
I
mute
can hear
up
you
here,
fine,
so
I don't hear you now.
How about now?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
What happened?
I don't know. I hear you though.
Shoot. Oh boy. Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
I hear you.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Let me check my audio. Let me just change my audio. I'm using the same deal. Can you hear me? Oh, he's going to rejoin. Well, I'm going to bring to stage here, Bring Fax's comment. He saw that the chef was cooking, had to say hi. What I will comment about OG here, saying that his friend, Red Tail Hawk, was on a Spaces last night with myself and others, and Bring Fax was there for a while. And he's got a lot of interesting theories about ancient history, the pyramids, and ancient tech, and kind of what all that represented and means. And basically the idea that our view of history is not what we thought it was. There's a lot more going on in the background. And I hate to get into it too deeply without our buddy Chef Zroe here, but let me bring him up now.
There we
go. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, good. I know, something popped. So there was a Spaces last night where a buddy of Bring Fax, our friends here, his friend Red Tail Hawk was on, has a lot of good theories. We got into a little bit about, UFOs, UAPs, paranormal stuff, ghosts, spirits, angels, demons, all the things. At one level, you mentioned healing the spirit, healing the heart, having the intent that is love and positive, and we have purpose and curiosity. We kind of touched on the idea that there may be, say, realities or dimensions or who knows, non-human intelligences out there that are there, maybe have always been there, whatnot. And as we evolve and grow, perhaps spiritually or in our language ourselves, that
Mhm.
as we open up to it, we're simply more receptive, or we're sort of graduating to a level at which we can start to have that relationship, if you will. Whereas if we're kind of stuck in the matrix, we just can't see it, won't see it, don't see it, refuse or fight it, whatever,
Well,
weaponize.
you are one of those people that inspire a lot of cross pollination with me because you've already given me 3 ideas
So
already. It's just what you just said.
I guess what I'm getting to is it possible as we evolve and we grow, like you indicate we can do and are doing, does it open up realities beyond what we think we simply see visibly, and does it connect to the paranormal phenomenon?
Oh my gosh! So here's a couple points that I want to respond with to your excellent comments. Red tail hawk.
Red tail
Yes,
hawk.
I've made contact with him. I'm communicating with him directly, and we definitely are sympathetico. Like we're already, it's only 2 or 3 days now, and we're already pretty much,
Cool.
Vulcan mind melt sort of thing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, um, yeah, you just gave me this thought, like the shift from consciousness that it takes to accept aliens if they landed tomorrow morning on the White House lawn, for
Right.
real. It's the same thing we've gone through as Bitcoiners, trying to convince the people we love and we care about to shift their dimensional thinking from fiat to Bitcoin. This is basically is from entropy, which is the second law of thermodynamics, which every system of energy runs down, to get this extropy. That's true. It's a scientific principle. It's where the energy system runs up to a point of perfection and then runs forever in eternity at that level, never decreasing whatsoever. That's extropy. That's Bitcoin. And so to get them to come along to the conscious shift that they have to make to leave the old world behind. Remember, we were talking, Fritz, change takes courage.
Right.
Bitcoin is change. It doesn't just represent a monetary asset or a system of trade, it's way beyond that. Max Kaiser said something brilliant once that I'll always remember. You don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you.
Right.
And that is the process I've experienced from 2010 when I first was listening to the Kaiser report when he was still in London, and he's like, "Hey, how about this Bitcoin thing?" And I was like,
Dang.
"Eureka! Thank you, Bucky." That's what Bucky was talking about the whole time, is
Yeah.
face the reality. All the money, the fiat, is all going digital. It has to be because of efficiency and ergonomic function. Do you know how
Mm.
much money it takes just to secure the money supply every day?
Oh God, I
Tens
can't
of
imagine.
millions just to ship
Yeah.
it around.
Yeah. Right.
Keep it secure. All
Right.
our systems are built keeping those notes in those banks, in those
Well,
vaults.
all those buildings, all those people, all the well, yeah, people keeping that system making any sense and supplying us with the propaganda about it. So
So this is what we're up against. The shift from, I'm thinking people don't even have the courage. A lot of people are not showing the courage. They probably have it if it's stimulated, but they're not showing the courage to make the transition from fiat to Bitcoin. How do you think they're going to make the transition from normal civilian life to extraterrestrials landing on the White House lawn? They're going to
right.
lose their ever loving mind.
That's true.
They're going to lose their mind.
So are we being sort of inoculated slowly enough so we don't freak out, but we're always kind of stretching that horizon, at which point we're ready for
Great observation
something?
again. Great observation again, Fritz. It's like this. I'm a veteran, so I was in the military. I had a top secret clearance when I was
Mm.
younger. I did ROTC. I was into computers, so I did AWACS for a couple of years. I did my 6 years, and I'm out. Peacetime service. I learned a lot. thing is, back to your point, what we were just saying about,
We're being like prepared
oh yeah,
slowly,
prepared, right?
steadily.
So,
Yeah.
so like, there are programs that you cannot, as a civilian, even a military person, get near the data. You need a special clearance. You have to be read into those programs, even to know it exists, let
Right.
alone know what it is. Exotic materials, UFO captures, alien technology, reverse engineering of artifacts that are unknown and I can go on with the list. There's about 20 or 30 categories and even more sections. The point I'm making here, though, is it's sort of the same thing as disclosure. You know, in the Matrix, that line where Morpheus goes, we can only free the minds that want to be freed."
Right.
What was that line again?
Oh, I can't remember exactly, but
We only free the minds that are ready.
yeah,
Something
yeah,
like that. Are ready
yeah.
to be freed. The other ones we can't free because they're not ready. So
Right.
it's like the same model. I'm making the comment back to what you were just saying is that step from fiat to Bitcoin is sort of exponentially much greater the step from civilian knowledge. I call it the civilian world, the surface world, they call it, and the alien, I call it the breakaway civilization reality that we're obviously living in, but not being shown every day.
That's another whole rabbit hole where you think
Yeah.
about, what's publicly available, tech or Overton window wise, versus
Yeah.
what they come up with or find and discover, reverse engineer, work on, and keep secret, and yet have been using for what, decades? How many decades are
And
they ahead?
yeah, I would say probably about two and a half, not decades, centuries. I'd say probably 2.5 centuries.
So people see UAPs and stuff flying around, the everything from a triangle to an orb, and things that zap, and planes that are flying and that disappears.
Do you
Um,
do you ever listen to
and
the Camelot Project?
I've heard of that. Is that time travel stuff or?
Well, she talks about there already being a space fleet and a space
Hmm.
force, and that we already have ships that, there's a civilization on Mars that's under the surface. The one thing I want to mention and comment to what you just said, because you made a great point. The problem with the discovery and the disclosure is that rabbit hole. I, and anyone else that's not read in, you better be careful about the rabbit holes you get near, because you can get in a rabbit hole that you may not come out of because you may either discover something or get into an area where you don't even know you're dealing with classified or top secret information that you're in some way touching or had an interest about. So there's a fine line, is all I'm saying, is some of those rabbit holes are true. What's that ranch out in New Mexico that they're always talking about?
Skinwalker?
Yeah, you can get
That's
into
in
one of them
Utah, I think.
skinwalker ranches and never come out again, man. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? I'm just saying.
right.
So
You get a
it,
hitchhiker back home.
yeah, that's right. It's like, so in my inventor life, of course, I would brush up against that world because I would find that many times the things that I was conceiving or thinking about or trying to develop was also many of the things that DARPA was looking into at the time. And it was just co-gentle. It was just parallel, because remember, the universe is giving everyone the same code. And if you have that intention to capture it and develop it, that gift, you could even say, you get released what may be coming next. And so in terms
Hmm.
of, I would like to think that I was helpful in some areas that hopefully have already been used for civilian purposes, like architecture, engineering, energy sciences, composite sciences, things of that nature. Um, the guiding line of love technologies, which is a solution I came up with not to have my code weaponized and used against humans or other living things, is a real success psychologically for me, because it gave me a renewed inspiration to continue to invent freeform, what I call without limits, freeform, within those guidelines, which are perfectly organic and stated in the universe. The universe loves life. Obviously, there's plenty of it. If it didn't love life, we wouldn't be here. So, always offering options for living, as we call it, for life giving options, was the foundation of Love Technologies. Caused me to be re inspired just like I am now with the Bitcoin community, because as I'm linking these two things I mentioned about 30 minutes ago, that spirit that I was in touch with in El Salvador when we were down there, the same spirit you felt, that love spirit, is all
Uh-huh.
about engendering that initiative and going, you have something new? Show it to us. I'll tell you a great story. So when I first got there, I always bring my sidewalk chalk to whatever event I'm going to. You know why? Because there's usually children there. So of course I
That's
showed up
always
on
fun.
yeah, I showed up on the first day of the golf tournament at that great club, Ellen Canto Club, I think it is, right?
Yep.
And of course, as soon as the children saw me, they come over to me because it's about love feast. So of course, I took out my chalk, and then we migrated down into the courtyard, and we had a group of about 10 or 12 children drawing chalk, and their
Cool.
mothers were there, and everyone was having a great time. And of course, we got the security
Oh,
down
really?
there with walkie talkies, and so the lady started telling me that we can't do that. And the mothers were going, they were just shaking their head going. And I said to the, I said to the security manager, I said, no, you have to call up Stacy Kaiser. You get Stacy Kaiser on the phone and tell them we're down here drawing with chalk with the children, see if they, and so later on, it worked out great because I brought Stacy a little box of chalk, the little school chalk, the colored chalk.
Uh-huh.
And I said, that's for your inner childs, because evidently they did call them, and they did say they're doing what? Drawing chalk on the pavement. So what? It's chalk. You get it?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I have pictures of it too, of the chalk that the children were drawing all these wonderful things. That's that spirit of love.
Uh-huh.
And also it's also a demonstration of LM3, because I did that deliberately. I do that everywhere I go. As soon as that creative spark in the people who are the children of the universe. Now, they can be young people, our age, it doesn't matter. As long as you have the creative spark, start doing that free form stuff, like the
Uh-huh.
drawing of these wonderful hearts and balloons. And, I was drawing my heart man. I have this great heart man with the love light symbol on it.
Well, what a
And we were all
simple
grooving.
thing.
It was fun.
What a simple little tool, like life hack, that you can do. Just how hard is it to just have a little chalk and you're in some random place. A lot of people don't think of like just conjuring something so randomly fun and positive, and
Yeah.
thinking like for kids, but like kids of all ages, perhaps.
Oh,
Like, it's the
you got to
magic
know it.
man. You what do
You
you
got
have, chalk?
You got it, Fritz. You know what's wonderful is I've done this tens of times before, and
Hmm.
the when it becomes when the group becomes conscious of that free form, the ones that are the order takers, the controllers, they react the same way every single time they come and try to make you stop. So I was not taken by surprise by this one with the walkie-talkie going. We don't know what to do. What are we going to do with these people? There's what these little 6-year-olds drawing in chalk? What are you gonna do with them?
What if somebody draws something naughty? What are
Yeah,
we
but that
gonna
wasn't
do?
happening. It was wholesome.
Yeah.
So
So
it's just an example. That's
when
all.
I think about, like, so you talk about, so like words, breath, and the mnemonic stuff.
Yeah.
uh you'd mentioned about it being weaponized, and at first I was like, weaponizing it, but you know what it made me think of is, because I think about it, because the handful of places I heard this brought up were people from the military, and I don't know if this connects, but it was called neuro-linguistic programming. Is that something that means anything to you? Using the certain kinds of words, kind of like words for parsing things.
Good, good, good
I
modeling. Good
like,
contrast.
yeah.
Because that's exactly what advertising has become weaponized words.
Right, right, right. So it's used in advertising, or like a presentation, leadership talk. It's a way to use words, but in a controlled, specific manner to hook thinking.
Evoke an emotive response. You know what the word emotive
Right.
means? It means to react without words in emotion,
Mm,
or
mm,
a belief or behavior stimulating. That's also the same thing. You're not using words, but you're acting it out. Those are words in motion. So
mm.
great, a great point again. So you give me this cross pollination. is that's a great example of weaponization, Fritz,
Right.
because that's not what neuromath is. Neuromath is not neurolinguistic programming. It's exactly it's the love technology version of it. It's the yielding, the one that yields the good fruit, whereas the neurolinguistic stuff, I'd call that antiplasticity. It's
Mm,
like it reduces, it controls, it forms those neuronic connections into a one pathway that once it forms, it doesn't have the flexibility to reshape.
I see.
And that's a great example of weaponization. Is that's what I was trying to think of. I'm thinking, how can I share with the audience and Fritz, what do you mean weaponization of your inventions?
Right.
Give us an example of what you mean. Well, I'm just thinking, that's probably what I'd be asking if I was in the audience. What do you mean they weaponized your what you invented a coffee maker and they weaponized it? What are you talking
Right.
about?
Right.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'll give you an example. Way back just before love technologies, I stumbled upon the idea of mimicking natural bio bioenhanced characteristics. For instance, skins of creatures, how they become radar absorbing. You see where I'm heading?
I think so.
Now there's materials made out of radar absorbing wings and many other examples. So the mimicking, that device of mimicking nature and using it to model new technologies and advancements was weaponized or commercialized in some cases. And that's always the double edge. Like, it's not always something we can control as inventors. We can't control, like, look at Foundation. Look what happened with what they invented. It got completely out of control. I mean,
Right.
to the point where you can't even believe how out of control it was. It was affecting billions of millions of planets and billions of people.
Right.
Dude, so it's like, it's an awesome responsibility to be an inventor. It's not a game. It's not, it is to me, work is play, play is work. But I'm saying it's not just an exercise to do it for the fun of the co-creation or the creation or taking the credit. It really has to do with how you impact people's epigenetic makeup, the DNA expression that their RNA is going to produce, given the new stimulus that you've given them to co-create with or be with or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it brings me to the idea that, the science that I might have learned in school being like, okay, the mechanical physics of biology and Darwinism, and where it's just,
Newtonian physics and things.
yeah. Survival of the fittest, and that DNA shapes over long periods of time, just simply based on survival of the fittest and genetics. But I think
Right.
we're finding out more and more that genetics can be affected by the environment.
Hmm.
And in fact, I was having a conversation with an artist, I think Yonat Vex, last
Okay.
week,
I've heard of them.
where their trauma can be inherited genetically from life experiences
Yeah.
of your ancestors.
Right.
Similarly, perhaps I would just presume love and positive experiences. So basically, it could be that there are things genetically in our bodies that can very well be affected by the environment. And as such, what's not to say it couldn't be what is out is in, our own mental health, our own attitude, our own intention, that we can evolve, not just say, um, mental cognitive wise, but perhaps genetically. Maybe there's evolutionary processes affected by pure attitude, intention, love, or hate. Maybe we can
Wow.
evolve.
That's pretty deep there,
I don't
Fritz.
know.
I think you stimulated this thought in me. Technologies. So the epigenetics, so that was a book written by Dr. Bruce Lipton, I think, and that was, I think, early in the early 90s. And it was really a seminal piece because he's still interviewed on it to this day. He talked about the epigenetics being what you were saying about the RNA forming that new path of evolution through the expression of the new stimulus, like you were giving an example of hereditary violence or things that are inherited through people. So that could be one of the roots of epigenetics is, of course, of characteristics of the hereditary trait, of being passed on to the, whatever behavior was learned or whatever behavior was enhanced. So you just gave me an idea that perhaps neuromath is the epigenetic expression of the evolution of a spiritual technology. And what do I mean by spiritual technology? Well, in foundation, that yeah, the biology of belief. Yeah, right. Matter and miracles.
Epigenetics.
Epigenetics.
I didn't
So
realize it had a word. The biology of belief. Yeah, this
yeah,
is
it's
it.
the biology of belief. And basically, we are cast in, I believe it's an absolute truth and reality. That's why I read the book and completely connected with it. I think I might have even talked with Bruce Lipton at one point along his development. Like I say, he's
Huh.
even interviewed it for it to this day. Why? Because I believe it's sort of like the biological basis of realizing that we live in a spiritual technology. What do I mean by that? Well, obviously there's many dimensions that we're living amongst that we're not directly connected to unless we become in altered states, or we maybe use some kind of medicine or plant medicine to help us achieve that, maybe principles of meditation, things like that.
Sure.
But the spiritual technology is interesting in that um, it's sort of like El Salvador. There's they have that saying now is we just do things.
Right.
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's that attitude, that intention. Like
Yeah.
it's a weird, funny, just to hear something like that. And when you're in that place and you feel unshackled in a variety of ways, whether that's purely governance or laws or regulation, or it's like attitude and love, to just hear that, like you can just go do things. It's
Just
like,
like you could do things.
yeah, that's right. Like, why didn't I know that? Or why don't I, why can't, why wouldn't I anyway? But when you get used to,
Hold on a
say
sec.
maybe a certain life at home or a certain job,
Right.
you can find yourself in a rut where you believe, oh no, I can't just do that. I got to be responsible. I got to keep this job. I got to make a certain amount of money. I need to be respected, or I need to fit in or get permission, all the things. Um, anyway,
No, that's a good point. So tell me more about your experience at the golf invitational. Did you meet a lot of people? Did you get any new connections that you still are using to further the culture?
oh yeah, completely. I'm almost reluctant to just start naming names because I'll forget so many. But that's where I
Mm.
met. Bring Facts was down there, and
Yep.
and a
Yep.
friend of his, and then just folks from people. And a lot of people from business. Others were just kind of visiting. The Australian rapper Robbie.
I know
Um,
him. I have him on my WhatsApp.
yeah, awesome. Yeah, fun, cool people that were just kindred spirits, free
Yeah, indeed.
spirits.
Indeed.
And not because, like, oh, they can afford to be because they're rich. It's more like, no, maybe not entirely, but it was an attitude. Um,
Yes.
and literally not just Bitcoiners, but at the hotel. We were staying down in El Zonte. The people who drove us, the people who worked, the people I met in the shops or at the market or whatever,
Hmm.
just the people themselves, there was a vibe. I can't completely explain it, but it was the pura vida kind of a thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very much that. It had this flow of love that people were there for a common purpose of promoting each other for the new experience of what this would be. It's sort of like you gave me the thought that it's you have to be very brave to create a new consciousness or a new culture. You're doing both at once, of course, right? So why a lot of people resist that is because, of course, the courage is you have to stop relying on what you've been taught and what you're sort of steered into to perform this function in the, like a cog in the system, to
Right.
X, Y, and Z to get NLP or whatever it is that we're doing. And you suddenly realize that, gee, freedom is a really powerful thing, isn't it? It really is a very powerful understanding, because you have to take, like as an inventor, I face this a lot. You have to take responsibilities for your creation, for
Uh-huh.
your co-creation. Sometimes it's not so easy, like that 30-year lesson that I got taught on diversity is our strength. Look what it did. Look what the evolution and the fruit that it bore in society, what we're looking at now with the social division.
Mm,
That was all based on that. Diversity is only our strength in the setting that it makes it stronger, not that you want to see another case of weaponization. You don't want to
mm,
use it for your own personal political agenda. That's not why the code was created. But see, that was my error.
mm,
I didn't have the experience that I have now. So what I love about what I do now is Neo-Lexibeta, the Neuromath, the Love Peace Mission, the Baggy. I really like Bitcoin artists a lot. I favor them because they're at that cutting edge. So I was a surfer in Southern California for 20 or 30 years. My
wow.
high school teacher asked me what I was going to do for a summer vacation. My last vacation, I said, well, I'm going to move to California and buy a VW van and learn how to surf. And then 20, 25 years later, I was still at the beach. So what I learned about that is that we're surfers, we like to be. We like to be in the white water. The
Mm,
white water is where all the action is. That's where all the energy is. If you can get in the white water and then get that tubed by the white water, because remember, when you're in the tube, you have white water all over you. It's a thin veil of water. It's not like it's thick. And it almost looks like it looks like bubbles or a spray that's held together like with bubbles
yeah.
until you get shot out the other side, and then you get the spray on your ass, your back. So that white water is that pure vita that you were talking about, that exhilaration. And I see that a lot at the beaches. They're having Max and their marketing crew with Coco Max, they're creating a lot of surfer contests down there, which is really great.
Right.
So I was visiting those surfer contests. There was one or two or three when I was down there. And I
Yeah.
make an effort to go down there and mingle on the beach with surfers and everyone, because those are the really young people. Those are the 14 to 20-year-olds that are going to be part and parcel of the new culture that's already accepted, not only accepted Bitcoin, but accepted the reality of what we were just talking about freedom being very powerful, that they're free to create. That's what that environment where there's a structure of lawfulness enough to give you the freedom and liberty to want to do that kind of stuff, like to make
Right.
stuff down there. Like I'm building a nightclub and investing in a nightclub down there. And because
Awesome.
I think we need better music.
So
I
you
spin. So
so you mentioned you DJ, right? So
Mhm.
what kind of music do you make? What do you like?
DJ5, I am exclusively into chord chaos. I have a chaos unit.
Okay.
So I do all kinds of, I'm into trance, electronica, every new form, anything you like, rock and roll. In fact, I went in my other room to get some liquids, some cold liquid. I've had Bob Dylan, so I didn't know if you know, but I like rock and roll. I like old music too. I like all kinds of music, you name it, classical, jazz. But I've been listening to Bob Dylan since what's today? Friday. Since Sunday morning. He has
Straight.
400. He has 400 and yes, straight. Like in other words, I'm listening to his whole discography. So what I'll
Oh,
do
that's
with
cool.
artists is I'll listen to their whole life's work,
Yeah.
and then I'll figure out where I plugged into it. Like I'll remember a lot of things by that process. But he has 465 songs, so it's been 5 days now. I'm at the song about 310. And it's been amazing because as he's singing through the years, he's also changing epigenetically.
Oh,
His whole character, his body,
oh
he
yeah.
went through that so many different experiences of life, really tangled up in blues to put it mildly.
Right.
And of course, he's so gifted. He plays 18 different instruments. He has over 60 albums, 41 bootleg albums, numerous live performances. He has over I don't know. You can't even count them. So many performances you can't even. I have them all
Oh
over
yeah.
the. So I've been listening to those when I get tired of the studio. The discography. I'll listen to the the live shows that are now on available on YouTube, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's been a real experience because I'm thinking about how do I, if I want to, how would I put neuromath in? Is neuromath a type of poetry? Remember, this is a developing science. This is something I'm co-creating now. This is not something that is a finished like a mathematical proof. I'm proving to whoever will listen that neuromath can have an effect on your epigenetic output, your spiritual technology in terms of the state, the frame of mind, LM3, that you're into when you ever are having to make great decisions like moving from the fiat dimension to the Bitcoin dimension, stuff like that. So, what say
Gotcha.
you? What say you?
How do people, you described the neuromath, and
Hmm.
how would people apply that or practice it or know what to do? Where do you start? What do you do?
Okay, so the idea is let's just take LM3 as an example. I've been saying that over again, but I'll give you another one. You know that one pretty well already. So, M4M, mind through matter, matter through mind. Four M's.
Okay.
M4M equals mind through matter, matter through mind. You notice I didn't say mind over matter, did I?
Right.
No, I said mind through matter.
Mind through matter. Hmm?
And I said matter through mind. Isn't that really what's going on with Bitcoin? You're making
Yeah.
energy something you can trade and barter as a physical representation of something you value.
Right. Right. Yeah.
We're making energy
Yeah.
money.
I mean, as people work on Bitcoin, Bitcoin works on you. So,
So you give them the formula. You give them the formula. I always start out, someone expressed an interest, so I give them the first formula. I go, listen, make sense of this. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. And they go, they can't process it. They're like, wait, $1 equals one Bitcoin? No, 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 no. You're misunderstanding me. In the world of Bitcoin, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. Whatever the value of one Bitcoin is what is reflected in the free market. So I started to think of this, Fritz. I started to think of a beating heart. Bitcoin is a reflection of the beating heart of the global economic energy infrastructure system functioning. Remember, the truest treasure we can have is this: the breath of life. See,
mm,
no one knows this or thinks about it on a daily, moment to moment basis. Every single human and creature on the face of the earth is one breath away from eternity, and you never know when that last breath is going to be. So
yeah.
that's a form of being enterprised into the immediacy of the preciousness of the present moment. You think about that, and all of a sudden you go, "Whoa, that's pretty far out, man." Like, yeah, that's kind of true, isn't it?
I
Wow.
better, I better be here now, right?
Yeah, it's time, man.
Yeah.
So, um,
It's interesting when I don't pay attention. I get, I'm busy with work and life and things, and then I think about, oh yeah, Bitcoin, and I go and check, like I look at my node or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, it's been cranking out blocks this whole time. The heart's beating in the background, and I don't stop and think about it. I'll
oh,
go back and
are you a miner? I
yeah,
have to go get my
I've got some
charger.
little
So,
miners right there.
oh yeah. So, what do you use for mining?
Oh, I bought some solo Satoshi bit axes. They're bit axes, but they're
Oh yeah,
put
bit
together with
axes. Do
so.
you like the bit axes?
Yeah, they're great. They're simple little fun projects to have at home. I mean, not too expensive. You can build them yourself a little bit to some extent, but um,
Right.
some of them are quite just plug and play. You plug them in, they'll connect to your Wi-Fi. You connect it to a Bitcoin address. You can lottery mine or connect to a pool, whatever you want to do. I haven't gotten into like the templates and all that stuff yet, but I mean, just by starting to mine a little bit, you're just kind of learning how all that works. And, I mean, it's not like they're not for making money. They're for making knowledge.
That's
So,
what I was going to ask you next. Is the motive money, or is it
oh, I mean,
no? It's some.
theoretically, yes, technically they can, but
Well, why do
that's
it
not
then? I'm curious.
it.
Why?
Just to learn. Yeah, just to
Oh, I
learn.
see.
Yeah, it's not for the money. It's just it's kind of like yeah, you can do Bitcoin without running a node.
Of course.
But if you run a node, you start learning how you can take control of a lot more in that whole world. And just by dipping your toes in, you start to learn. So just by getting my first little miner, I start to learn. And it
Right.
might be like, oh, superficially, yeah, they run and I don't do much with them.
Yeah.
But I can connect to them, I can configure them, I could do stuff with templates, I can use Ocean or whatever. Oh,
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Did I lose you, bro?
I hear you, I just don't see you.
Oh, wait. Let me go back to the. I wonder what.
We're having a night.
Wait a minute, man. Hold
You
on.
turned your camera off, maybe.
Where? Oh, here I am. No, I am.
There you are.
Yeah, no, I just slide. The thing fell. I put the battery charger on. I have to get it to stabilize it for some reason.
Get a couple of books.
Yeah, there you go. Now it's
Hold
got
it
it. Now it's
together.
got it. Okay. So yeah. So
It's just for learning.
yeah,
You
for
know,
learning.
anybody can get off zero, but then taking self custody is kind of a step in learning, and then running a node is a step in learning, and if you run a miner, it's a little step in learning. So
Right.
you get a sense of the ecosystem, and and then the
Right.
sky's the limit. You can do whatever the hell you want. But
Well, now that you mentioned that, we should talk a little bit about Baggy.
yeah, so the Bitcoin art, no, what is it?
Bitcoin Art Gallery and Institute.
Bitcoin Art Gallery and Institute.
Okay, so I'll give you the big picture and then we can talk about the details.
Okay.
So we discussed a little bit just briefly about it, but it's basically an actual gallery, a modern gallery located in San Salvador with really cutting edge Bitcoin art in it. It's near the historical district in there.
Right.
And it also functioned as a another entity called the Bitcoin Art Institute, which inside it will hold the number of guilds. Now, I want to use that as a model to also formulate a national art academy for El Salvador, but that's a separate thing. So just put that to the side for a second.
Okay.
So they work together, and the reason they work together is. So I looked at history, and I was looking at how Andy Warhol got famous, and I thought, culturally, that's the same model we need to use to indoctrinate, in a way, people with this mind virus of doing new things and doing them in a new way. Bitcoin culture.
Uh-huh.
How do we do that with Bitcoin art? And I thought, well, what I want to do is I want to set up kind of an incubation chamber with the 500 Bitcoin artists that I know that are in the network of the Bitcoin Art magazine, and work with them to form a guild that will be having a actual physical compound in El Salvador as a retreat, like in the mountains or near the beach. That would be a couple acres with a nice building on it that would give 8 or 10 people a couple weeks out of the year to come down there, relax, retreat.
Oh, that'd be
And
awesome.
yeah, and then the part of the institute would be attached to the gallery in the city, where we'd offer courses to youth to teach them in workshops about how to become an artistic creator, how to produce different art. And it would be an incubator because the Bitcoin culture is already really planted in El Salvador. So as you walked around San Salvador, oh yeah, that's right, you went to the El Centro. I was there a couple of weeks earlier for the Bitcoin Historico. Were you there for
Oh,
that
right. I
downtown?
missed that one.
So what I saw was the first morning I went out, I walked down to Historico. I was about 10 blocks, so I had to walk through the streets of San Salvador. And I always study people's body language and read their face language and stuff. And I was seeing all of these people that have been highly, deeply traumatized by basically a lifetime of oppression from different forces. Recently, it was the gangs. Before that, it was the Civil War. Before that, it was
Yeah.
colonial conquest. It went on for generations, literally.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, but they had a smile of acceptance and hope. And I realized the reason they had that is because they had also seen the children at the library that I went to visit, and realized that this new generation that's being raised up, and they have this new initiative down there with the AI educational system,
Uh-huh.
is a very advanced um, way of giving a leading advantage to that generation, in that they haven't been touched by the trauma that the older people in the streets, the older adults, have been. So they
Right.
don't have to heal it. They can just start off fresh. So that those grade school and up to high school kids that are already raised up in this new environment are showing wonderful signs of creativity, of expression, of industrial entrepreneurial activity, of wanting to create things and do things in a different way.
Totally. Yeah, they're just ready for it. The energy is spring loaded, they just
It is.
crave doing stuff, go do stuff.
Yeah. So that was really good to see the change between what was there before, which I didn't experience, but I knew about because I had seen films and videos and known people that had come from El Salvador. They experienced those earlier days where the
Oh,
trauma was, the oppression was
yeah.
just.
I had a guy on, Sergio, who his family fled El Salvador during the Civil War, and his uncle was down in the plaza when, that archbishop was assassinated, and they had his
Hmm.
funeral, and there
Hmm.
and then there were snipers up on the roof and started
Yeah.
shooting, and people started fleeing, and a
Hmm.
bunch of people died, and then the Civil War started, and
Hmm.
it was brutal times, but
Hmm.
people remember that stuff. For him, when he goes down to the plaza there, he says it's surreal to see tourists and pictures and art and all these happy, free people.
Hmm.
And he says, like, boy, in my memory, this was a disaster.
Yeah. 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 In fact, I follow Doug Casey. He's a big gold investor
Doug
guy.
Casey.
Doug Casey. He's a financial wizard, but he lives in
Okay.
Paraguay now.
Okay.
Anyway, I've just mentioned that because he was talking about El Salvador and would he put that on his list. And he did say something that caught my interest, like the number of people that they've put in the CCOT. I think it numbers between 49 and 60,000. That's a lot of. That's a big challenge for a society to deal with the implications of that.
Mm,
Not just to transition socially there on the street of not being oppressed by gun-toting thugs, and really quite brutal people in terms of the practice of their extortion and their satanic leanings and
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal stuff.
Yeah. The worst
Pretty
stuff you can imagine.
pretty brutal. Yeah. And when I see the the attempt being made to, um, I mean, I guess they've determined that some are not redeemable. There is a certain number that they put in rehabilitation programs. I think it's between 5 and 6,000. Making furniture, learning carpentry, learning mechanics, learning how to paint, just learning how to do a trade, a job which they
Yeah.
never knew before. So there is a certain percentages that they can recuperate, or they can regenerate to become somewhat um, benefactors to society, contributing positively to society. But what do
Sure.
you do about the other ones that are so imprinted with that mindset that's so brutal, basically?
Yeah. Brain damaged.
Yeah, they're basically, yeah, they have no plasticity left. They're locked,
Right.
and so they'll be locked for the rest of their life. Quite like, it's ironic, but quite like the people they traumatized in the streets are locked in their trauma, the older people I was mentioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Doug Casey mentioned, and I thought, he does have a good point. What do you do with that? Now, here's the great hope. So, President Bukele was in Costa Rica about 2 weeks ago or a little more. He made that speech with the president of Costa Rica. And was it Costa Rica? I'm pretty sure it was Costa Rica.
I'm not sure. I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, anyway, he was talking about how the president of Costa Rica was talking about how El Salvador was such a good model. They should do the same thing because they're having huge cartel problems in Costa Rica and
Oh,
Nicaragua and Guatemala. They're having the same problems they had in El Salvador.
yeah.
So it's good to see that perhaps both the Bitcoin social experiment and model and the the red lines that had to be drawn with the criminality and the lawlessness, because it will basically, it'll destroy your whole, you know, it already did to some degree destroy. And it's a great model, El Salvador, because it's such a small, it's like a petri dish. It's only 6.8 million people. I say only, that's a lot of people. But in terms of a nation, that's, you know, that's like a
Sure.
city to us. It's like a medium-sized city or something.
Right.
But still, it's a whole country, and the culture goes very deep. Again, if you haven't brought up in a Spanish mindset, it's hard to completely grok it. But from what I did gather, that spirit of love and hope was the overriding lubricant that
Right.
made it all work today, that people were all feeling, that drew them into a group that they can identify with. So at least that was what I was experiencing.
Yeah, there's both the love and the respect or responsibility. So like when you talk about the work you do where it's love and it's joy and it's fun,
Yeah.
but it's not just hedonistic. It's
Mhm.
also you're careful to keep it purposeful and good and responsible. Because so like the alternative is like I don't know. I think of like the aftermath of say Woodstock and stuff. Like okay, party, fun, and then it was like a mess. Um,
Yeah.
versus say um, the
Yeah.
love with also not it's not like you love and you're free, but you have no care for say order and rules and respect. It's a
Right.
mix of love and responsibility, right?
It's true. Like, okay, back to the prime example of diversity is our strength. So that was created out the inspiration of eternal hope, like having diversity in application and thought. I wasn't talking about gender or race. I wasn't talking about I wasn't talking about it that way. But what I realized is, and I realized that this code had a lot to do with the development into the future where we're at now, where there's gender affirming surgeries and stuff.
Oh,
They twisted it because that's what human nature does. It when it's not enlightened and drawn into the light of consciousness, it goes into the dark places and it draws out, like the weaponization of some of my inventions was not necessary. Someone just did it to either fulfill their agenda or make profit or both. But the point I'm making here is that the diversity is our strength. Was at the time, I thought it was such a brilliant code at the time. I thought, oh my God, of course it makes total sense. And when I started saying it to the people that I was around, I realized that it started to, this is always what happens. You start to see it in the media and people repeating it. Like one of the mottos for CBS News I came up with, right here, right now. And as soon as I spoke it, almost the next couple days, it was, never heard it before. It was on the newscast. I'm like, wait a minute, I just said that 2 days ago. Where did that
willed
come
it into
from?
the universe.
That's how it is, an echo. It's like the echo, co-creation echo. So back to diversity is our strength. Yeah, in displaying
It's like
all of the miraculous qualities, and expressions of God's creative universe, the infinite, beautiful creation that we're living in. And by the way, everyone, you should remind ourselves every day that Earth is Eden and Eden is Earth. We already live in Eden. We already live in paradise. We're already here. We don't have to build it. We exist in it. We just have to cooperate with her, with him, with it
mhm.
to be one in the same goal as producing life affirming options. So that's what I'd like to think about as a, just back to the example of diversity as our strength. It wasn't meant for gender. It wasn't meant for identity. It had nothing to do with personal politics. It was a
Right.
spiritual technologies. And when I got the other, and I went, okay, so what I brought this up, Fritz, was so when I got this realization like 30 years later, I got the other half of the code. I thought, oh my God, like in the bridge of the River Kwai, like what have I done? You know what I'm saying? I go,
Right.
no. And then I said, no, no, no. I only take responsibility for the initial code. What came after, what it grew into, I didn't handle that. I didn't co-create that. That was by someone else's will, someone else's hands, someone else's mind.
Sure.
So I'm not taking the rap, man.
Right. Right.
But at the same time, I got from the cosmos, but this is not to produce guilt in you. It's to produce a consciousness that you need to be, the power that you have to invent is an extremely precious gift, but it's extremely powerful. Be careful how you apply it.
Yeah. What's that quote? There's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come.
Right.
Um, and there's an artist, a producer guy. Is it Rick Rubin or
Yeah,
anyway?
Rick Rubin, the producer, world famous, lives in Malibu.
He was.
Yeah.
I guess that was a quote from Victor Hugo. Nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come.
Mm,
And so Rick Rubin mentions something like that about how, like basically being, it's not like we come up with this stuff through rational effort. It's like we're creating a flow state from which we are a conduit from whatever it is coming to us and through us and then
yes.
out from our expressions. And
Right.
then he would talk about situations where he'd be he'd be working with an artist or working something on himself and
Hmm.
coming up with an idea and kind of have a hymn or a flow and a bit of a song coming together.
Mm,
And then he'd kind of take a break or put it aside, put it on the shelf. And lo and behold, he would hear that song out there like it was just sort of, it had been conjured
mm,
into the world. And he
mm,
was part of it, he felt,
mm,
but he just didn't ultimately make it. But that artists would sort of like come upon new feelings, new expressions, new ideas,
mm.
and share it. And so different artists are just kind of like expressing more tangibly specific aspects of it, but it's like it's coming down to all of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. It's not, the cosmic flow is not exclusive. It's not exclusive to persons. It's given to everyone in equal freedom and equal access.
Right.
Of course, the 5 steps apply. If you want to do something useful with it, you have to put the cue, clue, code, key, intention to use in order to harness it. And I choose to do it in ways that bless people and cause them to have more life affirming options other than the other way. So we got a problem. Houston, we have a really big mega problem. We got a lot of people getting killed all over the earth in useless wars because the fiat fiasco system will not relent in its selfishness and greed to not try anything new, to try to trap everyone in the bondage that it's created, even though it knows consciously that it's not sustainable. And the more it pushes it, the worse the outcome is going to be for the human family in terms of, it's like when you go, to rehydrate. You don't drink a gallon of water at once. You drink a pint, then 2 pints, because you'll kill yourself if you drink a gallon. You
Right.
got to go slow into this thing. So my current so I came up in 2025. I'm going to work 5 years. I'm going to do I call it 5P, 5Y, simultaneously mega loop. I'm doing five projects over 5 years, all simultaneously, 5 inventions. And I call it a mega loop because they're all intertwined. They all affect each other synergetically. So the output is greater than the 5 together.
Uh-huh.
I want to move the culture of the human race that far into the spiritual technology that's coming upon us.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
does
So,
does that connect with moving to El Salvador? You're going to spend some more time in El Salvador, you think?
okay. So my 5 projects are Neuromath, Neolexa Beta, Baggy, the Love Peace Mission, the Invitation to Peace in El Salvador, the Institute of Diplomatic, and another project. I'm writing a book called Jet to Gem. It's a way of using exponential behavior modification to have an achievement. It's a very flexible mathematical system that I'm looking to put in. I have the draft here. It took me 5 years to write the drafts. I'm going to make a book out of that. and I'm just getting to my 4 projects are already cooking. So in a year, I've got 4 up and running. And now I'm going to we're going to march forward with the drafts of Jet to Gem. And I'm going to use AI to formulate the draft of the book over that month. So I'll have my 5 projects. I'm into it. Let's see. So 5P, 5Y is now, what is it, February? So I'm just past a year. And and this is not coincidence. I have like the forces of the universe are guiding me. When I went down to El Salvador, my greatest, highest goal was to find a place I can invest in and make a new nightclub with a built-in sound system so pure and the music so in tune with the happening and the people dancing and the whole chemistry of love that it will raise it'll raise the software of the heart to a new level. I was talking about with Robbie P at the golf invitation to getting together with him and putting together a huge event when we release the Love Peace invitation. Hopefully that will be coming about soon. Keep your ears open for that. And so those are the 5 projects that I'm working on and I call it a mega loop because I think they all relate to each other. You see, it's like I'm trying to raise the emotive. I'm giving the definition of neurolexibeta. I'm making the Baggy Institute to work with people. I'm doing the Love Peace mission. And that's the huge goal, is the love peace, the invitation to peace, the forming of a new diplomatic corps and a new institute for diplomacy based in, and I want that when President Bukele finishes his term, he would become the chair or the director of that institute. So that is at least what
That'd
I
be amazing.
suggested might be a good thing to think about in terms of putting something in place to carry on the legacy of the generations they're reviving down there.
So the hub and the axle could be love with 5 spokes coming out of it,
You
making
got
a
it.
wheel that all turns in forward.
LM3, baby.
Yeah,
It's all
there you go.
LM3 at the middle.
There you go. That'd be amazing. Yeah.
So can
So
I ask you a question or two, brother?
yeah, sure.
So what is your interest? Do you put on a regular podcast? What's
Yeah.
your specialty? What do you like to do?
Well, so ultimately it revolves around Bitcoin and just the whole landscape of Bitcoin, Bitcoiners, by the plebs, for the plebs,
Right.
but open to all kinds of topics. Like y'all have individual stories, which I find each one fascinating. Some are more into the business or a particular type of tech and or the financial economic stuff. And more, I'm finding a lot of interest in artists and creator types, philosophers. So I'm open to the entire landscape. It started with so a buddy of mine and I, my buddy Daniel, we just started having these Bitcoin oriented conversations. And week by week, we'd have these amazing conversations. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're the only other person I can really relate to about all this stuff.
Right.
And so then we started recording it. And we're like, we had this like amazing conversation. And I'm listening to other podcasts. I'm saying, we should like record this, And he was kind of like, just do it. And so one day we clicked record and the audio was horrible. We're in a restaurant. But anyway, every week we just started recording our own little banter about Bitcoin stuff. And then after like a year and a half of that, and he got busy, different work, he moved. He came up with MicroSeed, the invention here. So taking self-custody with a kit.
Oh yeah.
So that's our device.
Oh, that's cool.
His invention. And
what is in there? A drive and an imprinter?
Yeah, so you can when you have your seed phrase and your 12 words, 24 words, whatever, you can stamp that on a single little washer.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
So you can take self-custody, stamp it on steel, and the device lets you basically just do that in 15, 20 minutes real quick and easy.
Right on.
So anyway, he came up with that idea.
That's not cool. That's kind of cool.
And as we got busy, and he's written a book, he's almost done with another book. So he's a writer, he's an inventor. I'm like the general, more creative talking personality guy is
Mm-hmm.
the best I can do. And it's like, well, why don't I just start having guests on? So
It's
I just
great.
started having regular guests, like almost every day lately for a couple months, reaching out to people like yourself and others and just saying, hey, um, you don't have to be like an expert in something particular. People have their different interests and niches or just
Yeah.
pure story.
Yeah.
And I'm just open to all of it. So that's what this
Well, I
is.
really honor that. I came up with a code in the 90s, leadership through imagination or management through crisis. There's only two
Mm,
alternatives. Communication begins everything positive or possible. So I really esteem that you're doing this. In fact, you're beginning to make me realize that because now I've tuned into a number of, I think, 3 or 4 groups now: Bitcoin Army, Bitcoin Artists, a couple other ones
yeah.
with my friend that I went to the first Bitcoin conference with down in Santa Monica. He has his own podcast now. He has like hundreds of members. So
Oh,
I've
wow.
been noticing that just in the brief interaction I've had coming on these shows, just in the speaker forum, that a
Uh-huh.
lot of people have gotten back to me. I've doubled my subscribers. I don't know what I'm at now, but I think it's up there in the hundreds, which is wonderful because it's meaning to me that neuromath and the other neo-lexibetic code that's coming out is being slowly but surely have an interest in, and maybe that's promoting what's coming next with its evolution, because remember, it's epigenetic, so I'm feeding off one of the loops. My feedback loops is the human interaction to define what its purpose is. That's
Yeah.
always important in inventions, right? So you gave me this knowledge with what you were saying about you like to talk and like to have guests on, and I appreciate coming on and talking with you tonight.
Yeah.
Is that it's sort of the fiber of the culture, both the communication beginning everything possible is really the backbone, or the causing the microfascia to form in the body of our culture, that
Right.
makes everything possible. Because just what I just said, the interest is at least a third more interest in terms of interaction that I've gleaned, and this is just over the last couple of months. The up and running of the 5P5Y started in January. So it's taken me 1 year to build 4 projects to where now that I can work with them every day and build them up to the desired output that I want them to become. These projects, Baggy is probably a 5 or perhaps a decade long project. Love Peace is probably a 2 year project. It's just started on it in November. Um, the neuromath and neolexibeta is going to go on way into into the future. I can't even define, because it's like
Uh-huh.
the Foundation movie. It could end up anywhere. And
Yeah.
then I have all my other projects also, but these are the ones that I'm working on as inventions, as we go forward. So yeah, I like the idea that um, of the inviting of people on to share these ideas, and emboldens our culture and community to speak up, man. Speak your mind, co-create with cross pollinate is very important process of introspection and investigation. We need to talk
Yeah.
with each other, never ending talk, productive talk that gets us to new solutions, new outlooks, and basically new epigenetic understandings,
Yeah.
behaviors.
Yeah. You are contributing in so many ways. And it's easy to feel, and I don't know, growing up in a fiat world, it's easy to feel kind of like this imposter syndrome. Hey, Shandy's here, just popping in saying hi.
Hello. How are you,
Um,
Shandy?
so like whether
Yeah.
it's whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's the tech, whether it's something financial, maybe it's a tool, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
it's building that community, building that culture. It was easy for me to look out in the landscape and say, there's so many podcasts, there's so many people way smarter than I am talking about Bitcoin. Like, what do I have to add and offer? Well, alone, not necessarily a lot. If it's just me talking to myself, I
Yeah.
mean, I had that idea is like, oh, I'll just talk about Bitcoin stuff that I'm thinking about. Well, you know, it's so much more, I thought, more valuable to simply have guests on to share your stories. And then, okay, it's adding one more drop to our Bitcoin ocean, and yet the ocean is within our drop. And so
So true.
it's contributing in its own way. For what it's worth, it's adding to the space, to the community, to the culture, and it's creating that connection, like you said. So at least I'm doing something.
You're
So
doing wonderful. I'll tell you, there's also a commingling of the universal energies, and I'll give you a prime example of what I mean just in my last journey.
uh-huh.
This has been happening to me 4 or 5 times um, with younger children. So I was at the airport waiting for my flight to El Salvador, the first one when I went to Bitcoin Historico, and I
Uh-huh.
was bringing the Love Peace mission down. I've been communicating with um, Gabrielle Bukele and the administration down there about my idea of the Love Peace mission and the invitation to peace and the institute, and been going on for a couple months now.
Cool.
I'm standing there at the airport getting on the plane, and this girl comes over to me and starts like kind of hugging my leg, and I'm tripping. Her mom was there, and so her mom came over, and she spoke English, a little kid, but her mom's only spoke Spanish, and she started to ask me, "What am I doing? Where are you going?" And I thought, you know what, the universe wants me to just tell her the truth. I said, "I'm going to El Salvador to see President Bukele to ask him about." Doing something about the nuclear weapons and destroying them, getting them out or causing them to go away. And she was telling her mother that, and she said, yes, she really likes that. The little kid was telling this little 13-year-old. She goes, make the world safe for children again, are you? And I said, yeah, that's sort of the idea. This remember now the same thing happened to me when in El Salvador. I was standing in a pharmacy trying to get something translated, and again this little girl came over to me and started getting close to me, and her mother came over, and she didn't speak English or anything, but I got the same kind of vibe that type of vibration. I think the children and the creatures can very feel it. Like that's a high, lofty goal to get mankind. Remember, the ultimate goal here, Fritz, is to remove the barriers for us to become an interstellar civilization. We need
Mm,
to survive as a race. In order to do that, we must move to other planets. It's imperative because we could have a natural catastrophe on the Earth, like we've had in the past, and
sure.
either life get completely snuffed or be put back several million years. So, and that can happen anytime. We have no knowledge, like that last breath thing. We don't know. So the best thing to do is prepare for a future that inhabits and channels us to become. And in order to do that, we need to stop the practice of war and building weapons and
Right.
technologies that destroy. We must do this. This is not. This is not a. This is mandatory. We must do it
It would be
for the
worthless if
generations.
we, yeah, it would be worthless if we expanded and spread and just continued the fiat. Like, if we're going to
Right.
do that, we've maybe like we're ready to do that when we've figured out the core love and purpose of who we are and why we're doing it, and not be playing the same games.
I think a great example that just came up in the news the last 2 days was Elon Musk announcing that we're no longer looking at Mars. We want to just do the moon.
The moon, right?
And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? He's been going on this Mars bend for 5 years now. And all of a sudden now it's just the moon. And I thought, you know what? That's sort of like what's happening in the fiat world. It's basically the house of cards is collapsing on itself. The international rules order is been obliterated. There is a shift going on in the terms of the nations and their relative power. And I think we've faced with two choices as far as I can see with human nature. Either we snuff it out now, or we get into the cycle. Henshi, I think those creatures in the mode in the eye of God, those creatures were called Hichi or some, I don't know what no, they're called eddies. That civilization, they got into that circular economy of endless war and basically destroyed themselves because they have no longer the capability. They've decimated their social hierarchy. They've destroyed their culture. All their technology is put into weaponry and warfare. Like the drone thing and the AI thing is bringing up to my attention that we need to. It's kind of like this. I was in a hotel room once learning about Alexa Beta, and I had a candle on the table and I was doing my formulas and stuff, and I got tired and I laid down in the bed. And what happened was, as I fell asleep, the candle burned all the way down onto the paper on the desk and started a fire. I was
Hmm.
alerted to that fire just in time to jump up from the bed, and with one breath, just before it, you know what I'm saying, exploded, that instant gave me the time to blow the whole thing out with my breath. But if it had been another 5 or 10 seconds, the whole desk would have been, that moment. And
Yikes.
then the most amazing part of the story is, and so of course the alarm went off. They called from downstairs, and I'm just like, no, it's just an ashtray. I'm just making all kinds of excuses. The next day, when it got light out and I removed the formulas in the paper from the desk where the fire was and put them in the trash can, there was a perfect 5 burned into the top of the desk. Yeah,
From
it
the
really
fire?
happened. And that's the day we celebrated the birthday of 5. And I learned about, this was in Amsterdam. I was learning about the neolexibeta. That was 1999. And I was learning about the neolexibeta, you know, reality, that the numbers and letters, that 5 really, it was more than
Meant
magical. It
something
was
to you.
it
Or
was a
yeah.
real trip. But the reason I brought up the blowing out the fire in that instant is that's what we need to do with the weapons technology now. Before the AI and the automation gets a hold of it and takes it out of our realm, so we can't even control the outcomes anymore. Because remember, as an inventor, I've seen this happen many times. You co-discover something or co-create something that turns out to be put to an application intention it was never designed for, and to do harm. Like the medical doctors, they have that great oath, do no harm. As an inventors, we have the same kind of oath. We don't want to do any harm. We want to promote the good. And so that's basically a synopsis over the last 2 hours. We're just going on now, a little over 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
If
It's
you
been
have any
2 hours.
specific questions, I'd love to answer them, because you seem like a curious, you have a curious intellect.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we could go on and on. I want to be respectful of your time and the hour of your night here, but
Well, what about you? Where are you on the East Coast?
no, no, no. I'm Pacific time as well. I'm in
Oh,
Oregon.
cool.
Yeah. So what I know we were both kind of talking about time zone and timing and
But
got a
why
little off
was,
on
if
our
you're in the
time because
Pacific zone, why would you get, oh, you thought I was in the Eastern Standard
I wasn't
Time?
sure where you were, and I
Oh,
just
no.
so
I'm in
I
down Northern Cali. What are you talking about?
yeah I framed it as 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. So whatever that means to you.
I see.
But
What
anyway,
happened was, in the translation of that, I thought you were in, I thought you were in the Eastern Time Zone, and you were telling me to get alerted at 8 o'clock to get the 11 o'clock you were going on with. See how I
right? No,
misinterpreted it?
yeah. Well,
I should have been clearer with you. I should have.
oh, I
I didn't
just
understand. I thought I understood. See, again, it's the code thing. You think you understand but you didn't get the complete picture.
right. Communication. So speaking of communication, what do you think at a high level? What was it that burned a number 5 from that candle? Is that part of that, call it universal consciousness, the thing that is kind of coaxing us towards
I'll tell you what it
evolution?
was. What a great
Yeah.
question. It was the joy of 5 being alive. It was the actual joy of the numbers and letters being discovered for what they are. It was a burning, it was a symbol that you could not explain with everything that I know about physics, that this could possibly occur. How could a fire burn a perfect? And I mean, it was a big 5. And it was an antique desk. So it was old wood, and it burned it right in the thing. And I thought, it's the joy of their children. They love to play the numbers and letters. They wanted to signal to me. And right after that, I went into the heart of Amsterdam. And we'll have to talk about this next time. But I found something, a pyramid in the middle of the park there, that was emanating, let's just say, alien type language. And it was right in the middle of the park, and people were wandering around it, kind of like tripping. It was changing colors. And the thing was, during the day, it was completely quiet. But at night, I was staying at the Golden Tulip right across the street, and I was on the 5th floor. So at night, I could watch it, and it would come alive at night. And then there'd be people around it in the middle of the night, doing dancing and and there was music, and music was emanating from it and stuff.
Wow.
So it was joy. That's what I think. The
Pure
joy of the
joy.
realization. Yeah.
Bitcoin Radio 21 says he has a question for you. So if he wants to comment that, I can share that and
Please,
relay
any
perhaps if you
questions? I'm open to all questions.
do you think that you partially maybe manifested that five and or were creating the meaning somewhere down in yourself towards your goal of like the goal of five or
Right. So I think it was a co-manifestation. I think what the answer the universe was getting me was at the time. Remember, I was just discovering Neo Lexibeta. It was kind of tattooing its emphasis that yes, what I have discovered is real. Five is actually alive. The number. Listen, I started asking myself, is five they're using in the cash register to ring up my coffee the same five they're using in a register in America right now? Is that the same five? How is that five being used in both? Is that a different? And I started to ask these kind of questions where start to see the nature of how everything we use, everything we build, it's all engineering. It's all numbers and letters. It's all numbers. It's all mathematics. It's all physics. That
okay.
code, that code is what runs the lines of force that run the physics that run our reality. In other words, the matrix, sort of think of the matrix code. Well, those are the numbers and letters running through the lines of force that cause the physics to present themselves. And I think that five was a presentation of that reality that it just wanted to, the universe, the numbers and letters just wanted to say thank you for recognizing us. There's a lot here. You should really look at what's going on because it's burning interesting. Like it's it's that it's that important for me, I guess, for my development, for
Gotcha.
the use of my inventions. Because my bottom line is I want to honor the universe
Oh.
and do the righteous thing. Do the
Hmm.
thing that's going to promote the most options for life and peace and truth.
So
So,
it's
yeah,
Shandy here that has the question on
yes,
Bitcoin Radio 21. She says,
yes,
when we met, you asked me how my name was spelled
yes,
and was very into the numbers, the number of letters. I had six,
yeah,
Shandy. Or is
right.
it Shandy? I'm sorry. Seemed like maybe that wasn't good. You counted on your hands. It was wild. I wanted to know what you were thinking.
Oh, well, I just think it's
With
a
much
wonderful
love.
characteristic because six usually presents itself as full of tricks to me. So that's not a negative
Six is
thing.
full
That's
of
just
tricks.
that you're full of tricks are wonderful tricks, wondrous
Oh,
type of. So, but six can be other things too, right? Think about your relationship with six. How do you use six? When do you use six? What does six signify to you? A lot of people have that thing about the 666 being something. See, we all have
sure.
these mythological understandings of what we were handed down culturally as what we can accept that number represents. But the truth is, the numbers and letters have an identity, a personality, a character, each one of them. But remember, it's not a one-dimensional characteristics. It's six can be something different for you, me, and Shanti right now as we use it, and then something completely different in the next minute or hour or day. Our relationship with the numbers and the letters is a is an epigenetic adventure. It's basically we are arranging our neuroplasticity to create more novelty. Inventions are novelty, things that you put together with chaotic forces, the numbers and the letters all scrambled together to make a code to make something like an engineering project or a spaceship or a nuclear reactor or Bitcoin. There's all these examples. So the numbers and letters is not being alive is not just a meme. It actually is a physical characteristics of their vibrational ability to affect reality. And I think that a lot has to do with I'm a big promoter of the string theory. I think string theory is basically what we're getting down to. Each point represents a vibration of a certain frequency that affects its surroundings in a certain way. It's sort of like a sonic relationship on an atomic or a quantum level. Sonic may be different than we're used to as music, but some kind of song or code or some community.
Wavelengths, different
Yeah,
wavelengths.
wavelengths. They're communicating. And so what I was thinking, Shanti, is that that's good. I like. 6, and 6 is full of tricks to me. Like, you know, so
She
it's kind of
says
fun.
6 means the same as all numbers to me. It's less than 7 and more than 5, but I get that numbers speak to us the way they were meant to. In one sense, I can imagine where, okay, you may have so many numbers of letters in your name,
Mm.
but it doesn't have, it may set a certain kind of a energy or tone to some things, but it doesn't completely define you.
Oh, think of how many letters in your last name, Shanti.
How
So you
many
have two
letters in your
names.
last name?
Yeah,
Well, that could
you
be
have two
long.
names. How many letters in your last name?
She
So if
is
we
not a
find that
tricky
out, we
rabbit. She
well,
does love you. She's not a
no
tricky
tricky.
rabbit.
Listen, how many letters in your last name? We can assign you a different Neolexibeta signature. If you don't want the one you want, you can just change it. So that's
Yeah,
kind of
that's the
fun.
thing. You
I
could,
do that. Let me say, Shanti, I do that so I can teach people the Neolexibeta model. You know, the 1 is done, 2 can do, 3 can be. So they can make a personal relationship with the numbers and letters they've been using all their life. And I gave the greatest example of it's this is beyond just logic. I gave the example to everyone and to Fritz about 0 being my hero because it's the only symbol that can exist and not exist at the same time. How is that possible? And I made the point, if zeros were prohibited tomorrow, they were taken out of the chain, you couldn't use them anymore, everything would collapse. It would be helter skelter. Just zeros, but they're nothing. It's nothing.
uh,
Oh, is it? Is it nothing?
well, if you spell Chandy that way,
10
she's a
is fun.
10. 10 out of
You
10.
got a 10. 10 is the
Hello.
complete picture of all the numbers. So in every number is given in your full name, which is 10. It means complete. It means 0 and 1, yes and no, and everything in between.
So, two different last names. Before she was married, she had 5.
Oh,
Now she got married. Now she has 7.
wow.
What does that mean?
The 7's letter from heaven.
Yeah.
So we can
So,
define them as the point here is that there's no standard model. The model is designed by your conscious application of what you want to achieve, what you want to do with your intention.
mm,
So it gives us the ultimate freedom. It's like you, Fritz, when you recognize you were a sovereign individual. Wasn't that pretty elating?
yeah, freeing. Yeah.
Freeing,
I can, you
exactly.
mean, I
What's
can
happened
just,
to me?
I can just go do what I want. I grew up with a lot of framing and construct and sort of identity kind of laden on me,
We
or
all
like,
did, brother.
this is what you're like, this is what our family is, this is what we do, this is how we think, this is how we vote. And then after a while it was like, wait a second, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, right. Hey, forgot one last piece of that, and this is what we expect from you. All the
Oh, well,
above,
there's
all
that
the
too.
below.
And then,
Right.
managing parents upward, you love them, you can't pick them, but yeah, negotiating parents can be tricky. So she
Yeah.
says, you want to know something you didn't know until now, Chef?
What is that? Please learn me.
The
Teach
secret
me.
is Chandy is only what I've been called my whole life from birth. Chandela is the legal name on her passport.
8 is that
Chandela.
8 letters? I can't see it. Let's see. Shan.
One,
No,
two,
that's
three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9 is fine.
Nine's fine,
There you
Chandy.
go. You're set. And it's a
They're
lot
all
of fun
good.
too. Remember
Yeah.
the joy of expression. The reason that the numbers and letters are so full of joy is because they get to express the inner heart of the universe in a way that we can perceive it. That's what their purpose is. That's why they were co-created. That's why they were put into existence, is to give meaning and definition to the universe we inhabit. That's why they're full of joy. That's why I have joy in what I do. I love what I do and do what I love. I do what I love and love what I do all the time. So I'm having fun out here.
That's good. It's always
Yeah.
positive. Now she points out 9 is an upside down 6.
Oh, well, remember 6 and 9 are cousins, uncles, aunts. They're of the same family, but they're full of, you know how families are tricky. It's
Oh yeah.
tricky. It's very tricky. It's tricky to be in a family. It's full of tricks. No negative connotations, all positive, full of good tricks, emotional tricks to help us coexist, basically, socialize and
Yeah.
things like that. And have friendships and fellowships. That's hugely important in human consciousness. Here's another point I wanted to make very, very quickly for you to think about, Fritz. So I follow a number of cutting edge science fiction writers. And one of them made the comment the other day in a live chat that all this talk about going up into space and discover other planets. Let me tell you something, he said. The human mind is not prepared for space travel. Why? How would you like to go into isolation for 3 years solid? Never saw another human. You never got to you never got to communicate with anybody except maybe you never got a physical reaction with other people in their chemistry. And you would go, just try it for a little while. When they put people in solitary, when they're in penal institutions like that, they lose their mind in a very short time. They physically lose their mind because without that stimulus, so he was saying, all this talk about going up into space and colonizing Mars and this and that, he says humans have no real understanding about what it takes to travel interstellar, like interstellar missions and things like that. We don't even, not that we not even have the technology to do it, but let's say we did.
Yeah, we
Even
need ships
that,
that were like communities and gardens or something, you know?
yeah, even that, it would take literally decades to make it, as far as we know, unless there's
Generational
some.
ships.
Now, I want to ask you something, Fritz, because I'm curious about your observation. You're a smart guy. I've been watching this my whole lifetime, but just recently in the last year, I've been seeing what I would categorize as some of the truest captures of UFO crafts and wormholes that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, some of them, yeah, I disregard them, but there's a certain percentage that, as far as I'm concerned, they must be a real footage of an object or something in space. It's not faked, as far as I
Sure.
can tell. I'm
Yeah.
pretty good at that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like I saw one yesterday, and I try to watch it pretty much over the course of evolution because we're going through disclosure. They had one the other day that formed this perfect ring and just went right through it, and the ring just collapsed on it. And it was, for God's sake, I'm sure it was real. I just got that vibration. I'm like, oh, so that's the new level of technology. The new level of technology is like in Dune. You can space travel through a time tunnel or a time warp or some kind of quantum interference that they're using that I don't even know. But what it raised in my mind is A, to ask you the question, what do you think that is, some of them? And two is there a whole new branch of physics that we have no knowledge about at all?
What do I think about it?
Yeah, what do you think
Well,
about all those images?
yeah, I've got some real ideas, and Shandy has some comments here as well.
Oh,
So,
please go ahead.
and not to interrupt you, I got thoughts on that, but she wants to know what I go by. So yeah, my name being Fritz, and five letters, Fritz. I'll bring up the there we go, names, Fritz and Chef Zero's there, um, and then she says. A lunar girl, a Christian girl. She believes God speaks to us through numbers, as you're explaining and feeling. And the numbers are to be for each of us as God intends. We don't even understand how God works. God has a reason that she met you, Chef, in El Salvador, a reason
Right, I
for this
remember you.
conversation, a
We met
reason
at the
for
golf
everything. And
tournament.
yeah, and there are serendipitous. And so every number and every way we think about them, we're seeking good. And there are so many serendipitous things that happen to us in our lives. I think about the smallest little things that happened randomly, the sliding doors effect of just like the most random thing caused me to end up somewhere where I met this person and then changed my
Oh my
life.
goodness.
Changed my life.
I know exactly who you are. Shanti, let me tell you something. I remember meeting you when Robbie P was there. And I thought to
Yep.
myself, as soon as I looked at you, I thought, I wonder who this person is. First of all, she has a very delightful, light spirit about her. But also, I got this intuition. She's going to be very developmentally important to the scene. Like there's something about her creative expression and the way that she presented herself. I can always sense that about people. Like they have a real, I don't know, like a center of focus that's different from everyone else, but it's very friendly. It's very approachable. So I thought that about you, Shanti. I still remember it's so interesting that you're in the chat tonight because I was actually thinking of you twice in the last like 2 weeks. I thought, because I was talking to Robbie P, and I keep remembering you because I keep talking to Robbie P, who's down there in El Salvador, down in San Salvador now.
Yep.
I'm thinking, yeah, you're an artist, right, Shanti? You're an artist, a creative artist. Am I correct?
Music.
Yeah, that's what I
I
thought.
mean, a lot of
Yeah,
things, but
you're
music.
you're cool. You're a cool person. Max,
In
what are you
her
doing up
music
at this
video,
hour?
she made that music video that Max loves so much. He put it on stage and had her on stage and
Oh, yeah, that's right. Now it's all coming back to memory.
put a lot of attention on someone who might not have expected it. But there you are. That was
And
awesome.
and well worth it too. Yeah, so it's interesting. But listen,
Yeah, Robbie P.
let's keep in contact. Here's the thing with the 4 or 5 times that I've been on the different programs on the podcast and things like that. I really love it because I realize that half of my mission now is going to be explaining the 5Y, 5P, how it relates to Bitcoin, and why my inventions is centered now. Because I believe the only place not the only place, but the one of the best places for expression is the community that we're building in the orange pill community, the orange community around the world, not just in El Salvador, but we can go anywhere in the world now and identify with the group of people who are the Bitcoin community there. It may be small, but it's extremely potent. It's very, very important. I mean, I think
Yeah,
it's critical path importance because, again, the goal is to develop a path to interstellar civilization. This is one of the biggest paradigm uh, codes. This is the biggest step that we can make as a human race, and we must do it imperatively now before, as I say, the technology escaped us. Yes, we're developing technology that's mind blowing. What we need to make sure, though, is we have the spiritual, emotional compass to direct our path in the correct, righteous way and not end up terminating ourselves because of our lack of vision. That's what I'm
right.
saying.
We have to be ready for it. And it's not just a technological or rational thing. It's something spiritual is what we have to be ready to be able to actually do that. Shandy
Hmm.
says that, Chef, you are important too. She felt that like people can feel things about other people, sort of like the kids that felt you. Kids are often unfiltered and can just sense people
Shanti, before I forget, do you remember the live stream that I did with Robbie P, and then they left me alone for about 10 or 12 minutes and I went on that rant? Do you know where that could be located? Because I want to give the link to Fritz so he can watch. Because what happens to me, Fritz, is I get in a zone where that creative spirit just takes over and I start saying things that, remember, I looked up and there was like 5 or 6 people gathered around all going like shaking their head and going, "Tell it like it is, brother."
Mhm.
And I think Shanti, you were one of them, if I remember, because I don't take credit for it. I'm just saying that's my full intention. So it just comes out in speech, and I like it because when it's recorded, you can see that spirit arise, that spirit of fellowship and camaraderie, co-invention, collaboration, cooperation.
Mhm.
And that's that spirit of LM3. The love is the minimum mandatory maximum. When we apply that to the environment, all good fruit comes from that because then we're giving each other a the most positive reinforcement that we can. You're valuable, your contribution is beautiful. You are beautiful. I always differentiate when people act badly, I say they're behaving badly. I don't say they're bad people.
Right.
I say they're just in their behaviors need to be modified. All people are a reflection of the glory and goodness of the universe, of our creator. So therefore we're blessed.
Shandy says she saw that she can clip it for you. Maybe I think she knows what it is, so maybe she can get it to you. But it hinges on love. God is love. It sounds like Shandy. if it wasn't obvious before, if you hadn't heard it, we love you.
Yeah, you're loved.
People hurt. People have trauma. People have life experiences
Yeah.
that also can't just be said out loud or shared easily. They're hard. People are hurt, and yet no, we are all connected. We're connected through love and universal relationship, through gratitude with each other. And we hear you, Shandy. I think I mean, I haven't gotten to talk to you, but just know that relationship is there. We care about you and we love you.
Yeah, listen, give me a shout out at Chef Zroe on X, and then we'll diversify to other platforms you want. But I definitely want to keep the connection open with you because I think you could be an essential force in Baggy. I think because of your stature and your interplay with the artistic community in El Salvador, and you know a lot of people, I think you could be. I want to talk with you about Baggy, the Bitcoin Art Institute, the Big Art Gallery and Institute down there, as well as my other projects. But you know, Robbie P and me were talking about putting on a performance when they announced the Love Peace Treaty architecture start thing, and you know that's still in the cards. I'm not saying it's not, but it made me think that in my pursuit of Baggy, I really need to form really good, loving relationships and symbiosis with the artistic community on
Yeah.
all levels: music, expression art, drawing, canvas, every single form of art.
And share
So,
what the LL3 is again, or
oh,
the
LM3. So it's
LM3. That's
LM3.
right.
It's love equals our minimum, mandatory, maximum. Three M's. That's what the three
Minimum
is there
mandatory
for. Love
maximum.
M3. Yeah,
Love.
minimum mandatory maximum means that that's our base starting line with every communication, not just to humans, but also all living creatures. That loving care that we're expressing for them gives them options for hope, and that's the only way we're going to overcome the fiat fiasco uh, chaos that's coming down the line. We'll realize that these days, Fritz and Shanti, audience, we'll realize that we've been trained up for the days that are coming because let me tell you, every day they won't switch to the digitized system of perfect money is another day that the fiat erodes and destroys our ability to bounce back from the chaos of its final fall that's coming. And it's being really pushed by the war scenarios now because the wars are gobbling up all the energy. I'm looking around the world seeing all these disheveled, homeless, starving people, and I'm thinking, if we put 10% of what we spend on war and designing of weapons and killingry into just livingry, just building houses, food and agriculture and medical, people would be living like we live in now in America.
Yeah.
A very clean, orderly society that leaves open good expression of progeny that they're trying to do, they're being shown to do in El Salvador. Listen, I was told that if El Salvador can pull this off with all of the baggage they have going into this, if they can pull out the transition, that's why I'm so supportive of the culture there. That's why I'm so supportive of the administration. Sure, they have flaws. Sure, it's very totalitarian in some ways, but sometimes you have to rebound to the other, not extreme, but the other side. Like
Mm.
lawlessness has to be confronted with lawfulness, and sometimes it takes extreme measures. But wasn't the lawlessness extreme also? So, in other words, it's just let's get somewhere to the balancing of the middle. That's why I'm so supportive of what's the cultural and social transition in El Salvador because it's one in a million. But if we never, no guts, no glory. If you don't take the opportunity, and they're
We
reaping the glory now.
yeah. We got to do it, and not just try, but what choice do we have? Go do. Just we got to do it.
Yeah, just do
That's
it.
right.
Just
Love
do
equals
things.
minimum mandatory maximum.
You got it.
I thank you, Shandy. I hear you there. You
Yeah.
mentioned the so getting back to and now we're going on time. I realize, but you asked me about UFOs, UAPs, all that kind
Yeah, I
of
really
thing.
would like to know what you think that is on some of the images.
It's quite a puzzle, isn't it? And I
Yeah, it
think
is.
the only way it really makes sense to me is that we exist in one sort of layer of this fabric of space time, what have you, and there must be others. And so, and then even within our physical, tangible meat space here,
Yeah.
there's like what we perceive as being humans and human tech. And then there's advanced, secret, deep state human tech.
Yeah.
Now, the next layer above that could be something that's in our physical world, but is alien or non human intelligence. And variously, through high tech or whatever, can travel in ways we don't think you could or don't understand yet, but maybe science theorizes about space time and who knows what.
Let me ask you
Uh,
this. Have you ever seen a book on the internet that's called The Encyclopedia of Alien Races?
no.
There is one, and it lists 42 known alien races. You can look on the web, and if it's still there, you'll find it. It's the catalog of alien races, and it's an old. It was on the internet many, many, many years ago, but you could download it, and it was pictures. They actually had a representation of what each race looked like, and thinking about someone producing that, it was too accurate to be made up. In other words, they had too many details in there that it made me believe that maybe not 42, but there's quite a few. There's quite a few that we've obviously either run into. I'll tell you what I think the next big thing is going to be, Fritz. You're going to love this, and audience. So there's a pilot that does research in UFO stuff. Trying to remember his name now. He's pretty well known on YouTube. Um, we were talking the other night, and he came up with this idea about what they're discovering underground with the LiDAR.
Mm.
And I said, he was an Air Force pilot. I said to him, um, what I think the next move is going to be is that an artifact, a craft, a whole craft, is going to be on Earth. It's going to be discovered. It's going to be on Earth. It's going to be publicly presented. It's going to be in full condition, not operable, but a relic from several million years ago, even perhaps sooner. And I think that will be made in one of the chambers, perhaps under the pyramids, perhaps in some other place underground. I don't know quite where, but I think that's where it's going to happen. Or maybe Antarctica. Maybe they've already found one in Antarctica. I think they probably have. I think they found, and I think that's going to be presented as the runner up to the disclosure.
So, and more publicly known, because like stories where, Robert Lazar, who, worked at,
Yes.
according to his stories, Area
Yes.
51 or S4,
S4, yeah.
and information was that they had like, I don't know what, 5 or 7 craft, and that at least one or at least some of them or one of them was part of an archaeological dig where they found it
Mm-hmm.
buried or in a way that it was either left or cached away
Mm-hmm.
or not. It didn't, because they weren't wrecked, but they were intact and that they
Yeah.
found them in the ground
Yeah.
archaeologically.
Yeah.
That was his story.
Yeah, that's his story. And there was a number of them, I think 4 or 5, that they were working on to reverse engineer, and they got close to one of them. I think he also talks about the anti-gravity mechanism that they reverse engineered that fly the TR-3B now, and many of the other crafts design in terms of the alloys, composites that the superstructure of the aircraft is made out of are of alien origin. I think that the new materials, composite science, material science that has sprung up from artificial intelligence engineering is becoming highly advanced. You can see it in some of the drones that they're using. We now have all kinds of variations of different drones that are being applied on the battlefield, as well as stealth drones that have different sort of EMF weapons attached to them, some that are hooked up with all kinds of advanced technology that has come from the reverse engineering of these discoveries. What I'm asking is, why are they so hardcore about covering up all of the evidence and hiding it, like in the Smithsonian stuff, like the giants and
So,
all the? Why are
so
they
I,
so? Why? Why don't they want us to know? I don't get
so
it.
I asked Red Tail Hawk about that was it last night on or night before last, I guess it was. We had an interesting space where I kind of asked that question. On the human level, you see efforts to both cover up and fight and even hurt, threaten, kill people to keep it quiet. And through movies and art and things, there's a quiet inoculation of education about it all that's sort
Right.
of like getting us ready. Um, Red Tail Hawk said that as below, so above. That basically what I was getting to
Right.
was that there's layers in our meat space here where there's this hijinks going on at various levels,
Yes.
human and non-human tech, say.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
in interdimensional space, there are other, say, I don't know what, but you call it interdimensional beings where people see lights and orbs and angels and
Yeah.
demons,
Hijinks. You called it. It's hijinks.
tricksters and
Yeah,
like
that's right.
Skinwalker Ranch. It's like, what in the heck is that? It's like a trickster, but it's just kind of
Yeah.
coaxing us along to keep
Yeah.
us curious and pursuing and studying.
Yeah.
So Red Tail Hawk said, as above, so below. So there are good and bad forces in play at a human level to
Right.
like control and weaponize and all the bad things. And there are good people that would like us to expand our consciousness and grow and be ready.
Right.
At a higher level, Red Tail
Yeah.
Hawk says
Hmm.
there are, say, I mean, you could call them spirits, ghosts, angels, demons, but there are like higher lowercase g gods, if you will, that play a similar game or role in our lives that both can cause harm, but also are there to help and protect.
Hmm.
Now, what are the politics of that? I have no freaking idea.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
there's Chandy asks about Satan and Faces of Satan, and retired Army Colonel Mike Ross, her intel would say it out loud. He's been in the tunnels, and there's a battle going on between good and evil. Like, is there a? Would you see it as like Satan and God, good and evil forces at play in that realm?
Okay, I'm going to give you guys two names you can look up and discover because that's a great question. First of all, I wanted to ask you, Fritz, do you follow the dark journalists on YouTube?
I've seen him before. Yeah,
He's doing that
yeah.
thing you just talked about rolling out the historical nature of discovery and what he calls the X protect. That is the rabbit hole that you don't want to fall down in. Like you were
Hmm.
saying, people get disappeared and other things happen to them when they try to find out things that they're not by the system entitled or authorized to glance at, and they start talking about it or showing it. They run into different sorts of problems, different levels. But the second one is Timothy Alberino. So check out Dark Journalists. You can review some of the videos that go back for years. He interviews a lot of people you'd be interested in hearing from on this subject. He gets in deep. He has a lot of historical knowledge. I think he's in MIT, I think he's in MIT, somewhere around there. Bright guy. And the other is Timothy Alberino. Now, he's the real life Indiana Jones, who's an archaeologist, and he has a book out called Birthright. That's how you can find him, the book Birthright. There he is. And so Timothy Alberino has a theory that I am saying I kind of agree with. He talks a lot about UFOs and other strange phenomena. He's a Bible believing born again Christian type of archaeologist, and where he thinks proposed in Birthright that there's been a civilization that existed way before humans ever came into birth, and he calls them our elders, and of course he's talking about the actual angelic realms that were in existence before we were born out of however process we came to be. They were already in an invisible war. And of course, this is the story that the scripture, excuse me, the scripture talks about that invisible war, which is summarized in Genesis chapter 6, has to do with the the civil war that occurred in that elder civilization that is still echoing itself in our culture to this very day, because those crafts that we're seeing are technology that the elder civilization, now these are civilizations that are apparently, I don't know where they came from, but angelic, and therefore since the dawn of creation have existed as I don't know, entities, powers, energies, individuals, whatever it is. But of course, in a supernatural sort of dimension that we can only see through certain filters. Like some people say it's the word, the Bible. Some people say it's shamanistic journeys. Some people do it in different ways to reach that um, spiritual attainment of the realization that we're Johnny come latelys. We've only been here for, let's say, 10 million years. Let's just be, just put a number out there.
Generous, yeah.
But the elders, our elders, which split into two groups through a civil war because one group wanted to take more power than I guess they were entitled to or thought they were authorized to have. However it goes, they say pride cometh before the fall. They had some grand idea that they were going to, I guess, become as powerful or more powerful than the source that created them, or that they had to obey. So maybe they
Gotcha.
wanted all the power without obedience, sort of like lawlessness. Anyway,
Love you, Shandy. Thanks
yeah,
for
nice to
joining in.
see
She's
you.
got to go to bed, I think. It's
Peace.
late.
Peace to your heart. Yeah, check me out on Chef Zroe. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. We can have a closer communication then. Thanks for checking us out
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for chatting.
Yeah, Timothy Alvarino. So
Okay.
check him out. Look at some of his stuff on Birthright. There's a lot of free videos on there. Anyway, he's the kind of Indiana Jones that goes down into Peru and
Uh-huh.
Costa Rica and Guatemala and goes deep into the jungle and has discovered quite a few artifacts that he has videos on. In terms of, the last thing that came up was this tribe was being accosted by these apparently aliens on hoverboards that were darting the youth and taking some of their women away and causing great havoc in their villages. So they armed up and tried to take them out. And he went down there to explore the real. They call them the face. What do they call them? The face snatchers. The face snatchers or something. Like, I don't know what they call them, but anyway, check Timothy Alvarino out. The Theory of Birthright. So it kind of makes sense though, Fritz, because if we think of the ancient civilization that existed, that has been either lost in time, covered up, or all of the above, or censored rather heavily, or whatever.
My sense of
Um,
it is that there are a lot of players in this
yeah,
whole puzzle. Like,
yeah,
it's not like, oh, there's
mm,
an alien force that's working one way, or that there's a good side and a bad side. It's like it's a multi-tangled
yeah.
mess of a bunch of stuff going on, and we're chickens on a farm down here. I don't know.
Well, I think to some great extent we are living in not a clear environment that it should be, and I think that's another thing that this transition from the fiat world of the old world man to the new day will help promote. At least I hope it does.
Yeah. Well, there is so much we could talk about, and we talked about a lot, but you have given me darn near 3 hours here, which has been fun
It has
and
been fun.
a lot of good discussion. So I appreciate the open-minded enlightenment, your new ideas, and
Thank
I
you.
learned a lot, and it was fun just to talk about and explore these ideas with you.
Remember, there's a lot to process in there, so let's think about our conversation. It's been really nice. Thanks for the invite. Let's do this. Let's continue this pattern. Let's get Red Tail Hawk involved in maybe a bigger discussion at a different time and a different day, and we can get into some good thinking and good promoting, because it's going to take this kind of communication to set the culture in a place where we can, how to say it, inhabit the changes we're asking to be made for the good of the people. So let's
I've got
continue it.
so I've got Red Tail Hawk coming on next week on Wednesday evening, Pacific time. Red Tail will be here next week, Wednesday at 7.
Okay, Wednesday, and that's the 25th, right?
Yep.
And you're on Pacific Standard Time. So it's
Yep.
7 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'll
Now
come
we're
on
synced
and
up.
just join maybe and listen a bit, and then maybe we can we'll have a trinary or multiple conversation about, because he's got some really good flow going on.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's been great.
he's a good communicator. So I'm going to have him on, see where that goes, see what
Good.
comes up, and heck, down the road there could be a real interesting vibe sesh.
Yeah, I think what we're doing here is we're forming core groups of cultural influences that will radiate out to the other people in our community. Leadership through imagination. We have to set a model through our basic communication
Ah,
to model for the others to follow us. Other ways, they don't have a map, they don't know where they're going, so we'll give them a map and a compass and say, like I said, with the 5 steps, we'll give them a cue. It's Bitcoin. We'll give them a clue. Come closer, come attend one of our events, come talk with our community. Onward, key, code, like we have now. We have those 4, plus we know now that Bitcoin has freed us to sovereignty, so we have the 5th step of intention to apply it. We're freed. That's why we can say we're sovereign. We're free.
we're doing it, damn it. We're out here talking and yakking. So here we are.
Fritz, you brought me a lot of comfort tonight, and it's so good speaking with you. Thanks for your patience and attention. It's been very fruitful, our conversation.
It has been fun. OG Facts, Bring Facts was here earlier. Thanks for listening, Bring Facts. And Shandy, it's been fun. All of your comments, it wasn't too many. It added to our conversation. It was fun to interact. So
yeah, it certainly was.
Chef, thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, we'll do it again sometime. And I'll be seeing you online and on Spaces and randomly down the road, maybe in El Salvador again. So I will see you down the road. And with that,
yeah,
we will say goodbye, everybody.
Possible.
Yes, soon if we can. And
be well, brother. Remember LM3.
LM3, love, minimum, mandatory to the max.
Loving.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Brother. Peace
Bye.
out.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye-bye.